you let me be? There's trouble. Why can't you let me be?
The visit to the observatory starts here. Online at www.griffithobservatory.org.
Choose a time, make your reservations up to 2 days before you go.
You'll have to park down the hill at one of the 2 designated parking lots, and then you have to take a shuttle to the observatory. They thought of everything.
Let's make it happen.
The Los Angeles Department of Water and Power wants to give you up to 7 free shade trees just for completing a workshop, either online or in your neighborhood. The Trees for a Green LA program offers LADWP residents over 40 different varieties of free shade trees. Trees benefit the environment, save energy, and add beauty. Get your trees by participating in an online workshop by logging on to ladwp.com/trees or call 1-800-GREEN-LA.
Welcome back to the Great Eighth, and joining us again is Bobby Parks, my wife, she and Gail are going to have a little girl talk during this segment.
Well, I'm so happy that you joined us, Bobby, because I really want to find out what it's like to be married to such a wonderful man as this. But he's a political figure, and he's always on. You have to always be on. It has to be challenging raising a family and really having your husband's back at all times. So first and foremost, when you married him, did you have any idea he had these types of aspirations?
No, not really. Not really. I knew that he was the kind of young man that was motivated, but I had no idea that him starting out as a traffic officer for Los Angeles Police Department, that he had in mind going to the very top of that department.
And that he did. I mean, it was but 38 years.
Yes.
What was it like for you? You had a different role. What was it like for you being at home as a wife and a mother, and he's patrolling, he's out on the streets, and you just don't know what's going on?
That's very true. That's very true. And I think the time that we did have together was always spent very well. His periods of studying over all the years, I was always a part of. And I always told him that I felt I could take the exam because we did all of his testing at night. And even when the children were little, we would go in the motorhome and study. He'd have his lunch there, his dinner there, whatever the day it was. And I never felt left out because he always took me every place he went. And people always said, you guys go every place together. So any of his appointments or where he was speaking or where he was out in the community checking out different places that he was involved with, I'd always go with him.
Well, you know, I got to ask the girly question. I mean, women around the country would not understand if I don't ask you, how did you meet?
Well, I have to say the girly thing. I was flirting with him, and I saw this tall, tan person standing in the middle of 6th and Broadway and directing traffic. LAPD did traffic then, and I was on my way to work carpooling the Herald Examiner on 11th and Broadway, and I said, if he is standing here tomorrow, I'm going to say something to him. And of course, those days women didn't go up and say things to him. So my friends on the way home that evening that I picked up, and they said, Bobby, remember what you said about that guy? And I'm going, oh my goodness, why did I say that? So sure enough, the next morning, there he stands. Well, of course, it did help that I had a brand new powder blue T-Bird. So I pulled up and I let the window down and I said, officer. And he bent down. He said, yes, may I help you? I said, what does a girl have to do to get arrested? And he said, excuse me? And I said it again. So he said, why don't you pull over? And so I pulled over and I gave him my phone number. And 2 days later, he called me. Oh. So that was it.
Ooh, all right.
Yes.
What do you think?
He has good taste.
Yes, excellent taste.
I'm glad the statutes of limitation are going.
But here you sit with this wonderfully talented man, and what was it like for you as he grew and developed? How did you grow and develop to be right by his side?
Well, it was very challenging. It was actually very challenging. But, you know, with a job like that, you are involved in so many things in the community, even outside the community, out of the city, out of the state, out of the country many times. And as I said, in going with him, I had the opportunity to meet all kinds of people in all kinds of situations. And many times when there were real bad things happen to people, we would even go the following day to make sure, go by to see if the ladies were okay, if it was a child or injured or whatever. So it gave me the appreciation of where he is and where he's always been, and that's being concerned about the community, concerned about public safety, concerned about children, concerned about education, even to the point where we adopted a family with AIDS one Christmas and took them food and toys and things like that they had never, when we took them, they had never seen anything like that before. And that had nothing to do with representing LAPD. It was Bernard Parks. And it's always been very enlightening because I learned so much from him and his thinking about things and where his heart is.
And a big heart he definitely does have. And so then from being chief of police, and let's talk about this really quick, because I don't want to embarrass him again, but when he was selected as one of the most beautiful people in America by People magazine, what was it like in your household?
It was fabulous. He didn't want to do it initially because the offer came to him on April Fool's Day, and he thought that his secretary was coming in there telling him something at headquarters that, you know, they're pulling my leg. So sure enough, they selected him, and they brought clothes, they brought everything, and I think they were like a whole day of taping. And of course, going out as one of the 50 most beautiful people in the world, I tell you, I think I had to kiss his ring every evening and, you know, all those kind of things. But it was really wonderful. It was so deserving. It was so deserving.
And it was funny because I loved it because I remember the caption saying that he could wear the same uniform he wore when
the day he graduated.
Yeah.
He didn't gain any weight during that 38 years. I think he moved the belt notch on the belt one notch, and when he became chief, his staff said, "We're buying you a new belt," because by those years it was worn.
Well, now let's look at the fact that, okay, chief of police, and then all of a sudden he's going to be a political figure. I mean, chief of police is political, but now he's going to be what we call a politician. Did you have a discussion about this?
Well, yes, and I told him that I never wanted to look upon him as a politician. I always thought the beauty of it, with him going into another office where people would say, "I like you" or "I don't like you," is that he would be, if he won, he would be a very popular elected official. And that's how I look at it. As an elected official, people want you in that office, and when they don't want you in that office, they don't vote for you anymore. So that's how I always accept it. I never think of him as a politician.
Now, as the wife of an elected official, I mean, you're always on. How do you handle that kind of pressure?
Well, it's rather busy. I stay involved with a lot of groups, a lot of community things. I get involved, and I travel quite a bit. And it's very interesting because it still widens your horizon for so many things. You know, knowing different people in different states and different cities and going out of the country. We just returned from Africa. And, you know, those kinds of things. So the benefits of him being in that position are great. And I enjoy, you know, learning from them.
Now, Bobby, sometimes being an elected official, some people have some not too nice things to say about councilman or anyone in a position of authority. How do you handle how do you control your temper? How do you treat these kind of despicable people?
Well, you know, it's very interesting that you should ask that because, and I have had times that people come up and they say, "He's a horrible man, he did this or he did that," and I say to them, several questions. In this man's career of in excess of 43 years serving the public, have you ever heard him referred to as a thief or a liar or backstabber? And they go, "Well, no." Have you heard of him always being a trustworthy person and somebody that you knew at all times would tell you the truth? You might not like the answer, but he'll never lie to you. And so a lot of them, and a lot of things that people say were wrong. And I have the ability to talk to them and tell them when they're wrong, because I know everything about this man and his career. And they go, "Oh, I didn't know that." And things that he would do that people wouldn't know. They wouldn't know that he bought books for Crenshaw High School. You know, they wouldn't know those kinds of things. They wouldn't know that he supplied things for people. And they go, "Well, why doesn't he ever say it?" And I say, "Well, he's not about saying what he does, because he's not doing it so that you know he does it." You know, so I enjoy that role. I really do, because I get a chance to change the minds of a lot of people.
So that's important. You're very, very blessed to have such a wonderful wife.
I am blessed. And one of the things, before we go, I want you to just take a moment and talk about your Christmas program and your concept when you brought the 100-foot Christmas tree to Los Angeles.
Well, you know, for so many years I watched on TV New York and their Christmas tree. And I said, never have we had in this city a Christmas tree like that. So I contacted a person who supplied trees to a lot of the malls, and I was able to get a 100-foot Christmas tree. And I collected money. I called all of my friends and everybody I could think of to help me pay for it. And it went along really well. And in doing so, I then started collecting toys. And I called Mattel, I called Hasbro, I called private people, I called Fred Jordan Mission, Mrs. Jordan, I called Noel out at the City Refuge Church. I called everybody I could. I called Danny Bakewell. I called everybody to ask them to help me with this project. Well, it worked really well, because we ended up giving out probably that time about 5,000 toys.
Wow.
And each year we increase with toys. As a matter of fact, the one year we did the tree, it started raining, and I thought, oh, how horrible. But that was the time that the union was on strike at the food market on Crenshaw, and I had gifts left over. So we rented a truck. He and I rented a U-Haul truck in the rain, and we went to that supermarket and gave the people on the picket line all these toys that we didn't give away, because, you know, they were out of work. So they appreciated it. But it's a great project. I have it every year, and we'll have it this year again in Leimert Park, and we'll be in the park area. That's where the tree will be erected. Yes, 2 years it was on the corner of Marlton and Santa Barbara. Well, I say Santa Barbara, Martin Luther King, but now it's in Leimert Park at Vernon and Crenshaw.
That's wonderful. That is so exciting. And then you have a big ceremony.
A big ceremony the night before that we actually threw the lights on, and that is also the time that the whole area has the lights come on.
That's exciting. Do you have carolers or entertainment?
Yes, we do. We do. And the beauty of that is we go to every community asking them to participate, and we always did from day one. So we have the Korean community involved, we have the Native Americans involved, we have any group of people, we have Lula Fields group involved, we have Crenshaw High School, any group that has anything. We had mariachis. Everybody is included to let them know that we're all in this together, and we will continue to carry that on.
That is exciting. I know I'll be there this year.
Yes, you will.
We are so happy for you to come here and give us some insight and just to meet you, because this is so special.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's my pleasure being here.
And you know, I keep punching him. He's a council member. Okay.
Let me just say thank you for being here. We appreciate it. It's the first time we've been on a show together.
I know.
And it's so pleasing to hear you give so much information to the public, and we just appreciate you being here.
Well, that's it for this edition of The Great Eighth. I'm Gail Choice.
And I'm Councilman Bernard Parks from the Great Eighth.
Need a recycling center? Call 311, the toll-free number for non-emergency services. 311, your one call to City Hall.
Hey, buddy! You with the stupid hat. Come here. Closer. No parking! Do you know what happens when you park illegally on these narrow hillside streets? You block the street so emergency vehicles can't pass. Each year, homes are destroyed and lives are lost because of drivers like you who park illegally. And you know what else? You can get a citation. And you can be towed.
Help us get to the emergency. The life we save just might be yours.
How'd you know?
The ball called.
Hey, look out for the pothole.
LA City View Channel 35. Your city, your channel.
Come to Hollywood Santa Parade, Sunday, November 25th at 5 p.m. at Hollywood and Highland. Call 866-PARADE-1 for more information. you. Thank you to council members Huizar, Labange, and Zine. We are still awaiting the following council members if they can join us immediately. Councilmember Alarcon, Councilmember Cardenas, Councilmember Parks, Councilmember Perry, Councilmember Reyes, Councilmember Rosendahl, Councilmember Weiss, and Councilmember Wesson. Please join us as soon as possible. Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Los Angeles City Council. Today's meeting is Tuesday, November 20th, 2007, and we're here in the John Ferraro Council Chambers, room 340 of City Hall, where we meet every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. I want to thank the council members who are here on time pursuant to council rules. Council members Huizar, Labange, Zine, and Cardenas. We'd like to ask the other council members who are now late to please join us as soon as possible so we can constitute a quorum and begin business. Councilmember Alarcon, Councilmember Parks, Councilmember Perry, Councilmember Reyes, Councilmember Rosendahl, Councilmember Weiss, and Councilmember Wesson. Councilmember Hahn is excused to arrive at 11, and Councilmembers Gruhl and Smith are excused for the entire meeting today. We are available online at lacity.org, where we have live streaming webcasts of all of our council meetings. We're also available through our city's homepage in an archived fashion. If you click on old agendas, you can see archived video footage there from our past council meetings. I want to welcome our viewers on Channel 35 through the city's cable system as well, where we are broadcast live and rebroadcast each evening that we meet. And finally, if you are close to a phone but not a television or a computer, you can always call a council phone, which is a service of the Information Technology Agency of the City of Los Angeles that allows you to listen to any of the council committee meetings or our full council meeting here. That number is 213-621-CITY. Again, that's 213-621-CITY. Our agendas are available online at lacity.org 72 hours in advance or 24 hours in advance for special items, or they are available in person here at City Hall, at the City Clerk's office, or in the chambers during our meetings. The agendas are divided into two parts. Those items which have already heard a public hearing in committee. If that's the case, then unless a council member moves to reopen the public hearing, that will not occur here. If it has not received a public hearing in committee, those items can trigger any public hearing here if a person fills out a card. So feel free to please take a speaker card in the back, give us your name, and hand it to one of the sergeants at arms on the side, and we'll make sure that that gets included. Finally, general public comment is your opportunity to speak to the council on items of a general nature that are not on the agenda, but are nevertheless under our jurisdiction. And again, just fill out a speaker card, put public comment, and we'll make sure that gets to Sergeant at Arms. Mr. Cardenas.
Mr. President, I just wanted to confirm. Somebody told me that there's been a David Lara sighting in the council. Is that David Lara? How are you feeling, sir? Welcome back.
I want to welcome Mr. Lara back from our Department of Building and Safety. Good to have you here, Chambers.
You can do cartwheels for us? Show us everything okay? Good to see you.
We are awaiting the following council members: Councilmember Alarcon, Councilmember Parks, Councilmember Perry, Councilmember Rosendahl, Councilmember Weiss, and Councilmember Wesson. Thank you again to the 6 council members that are here on time: Councilmembers Cardenas, Huizar, Labange, Reyes, and Zine. But we are still awaiting those following council members. I also want to let the public know that they can always go to Van Nuys City Hall and testify if you live closer to Van Nuys in the San Fernando Valley. We can always hear your testimony remotely from the council chambers there. And each first Friday of the month, we also go to Van Nuys City Hall and we conduct our meeting there in our effort to bring City Council closer to all Angelenos. Thank you to Mr. Weiss for his arrival. We are still awaiting Mr. Alarcon, Mr. Parks, Ms. Perry, Mr. Rosendahl, and Mr. Wesson to begin business. I want to thank the public for their patience while we await those members. Mr. Rosendahl has arrived. Thank you, Mr. Rosendahl. We are awaiting two more members, and we can begin. Council members Alarcon, Councilmember Parks, Councilmember Perry, and Councilmember Wesson. As soon as we have a quorum, we will begin. Thank you. Thank you again to council members. We're just awaiting one council member from Councilmember Parks, Perry, and Wesson. Councilmember Parks, Councilmember Perry, and Councilmember Wesson. This is past the hour. This is a last quorum call for Councilmembers Parks, Perry, and Wesson who are late. If you can please join us as soon as possible, we can begin the meeting. Thank you. I could ask the sergeants at arms to please go to Councilmember Park, Perry, and Wesson's office and see if we can't get one of those members down right away. Thank you.
That's why I eat it.
Due to two items needing action today, we will continue to wait for Council members Parks, Perry, and Wesson. Otherwise, we would adjourn this meeting for lack of a quorum. It is now 15 minutes after the hour. Just to let folks know, we are still waiting Mr. Wesson, Ms. Perry, and Mr. Parks to constitute a quorum. They were not excused to arrive late. As soon as we have those members here, we will begin the meeting. Thank you, everybody, for your patience. We're still awaiting a quorum, waiting for council members Wesson, Parks, and Perry. I want to thank the other council members who were here pursuant to council rules on time or in a timely fashion. Still awaiting council members Parks, Wesson, and Perry to constitute a quorum. We would adjourn this meeting, but we do need to take action on 2 items today that are of a time-sensitive nature. Please call the roll, Mr. Clerk.
Alarcon, Cardenas, Gruel, Hahn, Weezer, Labange, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Smith, Weiss, Weston, Zine, Garcetti. 10 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
First order of business, please.
Approval of the minutes.
All right, Mr. Zine moves and Mr. Weiss seconds. Without objection, those minutes will be approved. Next order of business.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Okay, Ms. Perry moves, Mr. Reyes seconds. Without objection, those commendatory resolutions will be approved as well. Next order of business.
Mr. President, this is Tuesday and there's a flag salute for today.
Okay, if I can please ask everybody to rise for our Pledge of Allegiance, and if I can ask Mr. Reyes if you'll be kind enough to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Council President. Would you please rise, put your right hand over your heart, ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. If we can run through the agenda, please.
Before beginning the regular agenda, there are requests to continue several items. There is a request to continue item 18.
Hold on 1 second, Mr. Clerk. Shh. If I can ask folks to please focus on the clerk's items before us. Mr. Clerk.
There's a request to continue item 18 to December 4th.
Okay. Is there any objection to continuing item 18? Seeing none, we will go ahead and continue that. Next item.
There's a request to continue item 39, 2 weeks to December 4th.
Is there any objection to continuing item 39, colleagues? till the 4th of December? Seeing none, that will be continued as well. Next item.
And there's a request to continue item 80 one day to November 21st.
Okay. Any objection to continuing item 80 one day? Seeing none, we will go ahead and do that as well. Next items, please.
On the regular agenda, items 1 and 2 are street lighting district items, notice for public hearing. Council should continue the hearing and ordinances to December 4th.
Okay. Colleagues, is there any objection to that? If not, we will go ahead and open those and continue them to the 4th of December. Next items, please. Oh, let's go ahead and open the roll on that.
Items.
Do we need to vote on? Okay. Those will be continued without objection. No vote necessary. Next items.
Items 3 and 4 are street vacation items, notice for public hearing. Council should close the hearing and instruct the city engineer to proceed.
Okay. Anybody wishing to call those special, 3 and 4? If not, let's go ahead and that's to keep those open or to vote today?
Vote today.
Okay. Let's go ahead and open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
That is approved. If we can take 60 out of order, Mr. Huizar, did you want to briefly speak on that? Okay. And then we'll run through the rest of the agenda. Mr. Huizar?
Out of order. This is actually a reward motion for $75,000, asking the public to help us in any way they can, leading us to the person who is responsible for the death of a merchant here in downtown Los Angeles. We're using all avenues necessary to get the information out so that if anyone has information, you could contact your local police department and hopefully give us some information leading to the arrest of a person who caused the death of one of the merchants in downtown Los Angeles. The victim, Mr. Ibrahim Torbati, was an Iranian Jewish immigrant to this country. He owned Drug City Incorporated, a small business in the Los Angeles Fashion District. On the afternoon of October 23, 2007, Mr. Torbati was shot and killed while trying to protect his store from a robbery. This is the first homicide in the Central Division since 2002. Witnesses described the suspect as an African-American male under 5'5", thin, and between 20 and 25 years old. I hope that this reward will help jumpstart the investigation, which has gone cold. Any and all information will help us capture the person responsible for this senseless murder. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Huizar. Does anybody else wish to be heard on this item? If not, we do not have any public speaker cards on this, so we'll open and close the public hearing. We can please open the roll on 60, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
That is approved. If we can continue to run through the agenda.
Item 5.
We do. No, that's item 80. My apologies. Go ahead. Please run through the agenda.
Item 5 is confirmation of a 1911 act on Jessica Drive in Council District 14. Council should close the hearing and confirm the assessment.
Okay. Anybody wishing to call this special? If not, on item 5, let's go ahead then and open the roll. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
That is approved. Next items, please.
Items 6 through 38, with the exception of 18 that was continued, are items for which public hearings have been held.
Okay, these items have had public hearings already in committee. Specials, colleagues, for items 6 through 38. Mr. Parks?
It's one for 10 and one for 23.
Okay, go ahead. Why don't you give those to us on number 10?
Okay. On 10, we just like to ensure, or the report reflects, that the project is not just for affordable housing. Our goal is affordable market rate with an emphasis on first-time home ownership and a mixed use.
Okay, is there any objection to that? If not, that'll be accepted as a friendly amendment on that item. Mr. Reyes, and then Ms. Perry, and then Mr. Rosendahl. 20 for Mr. Reyes. Ms. Perry?
I want to continue item 25 for 30 days, please.
Okay, is there any objection? That would be December 21st, which is the recess. So that will take us actually beyond, hold on, what's it, 6 for Mr. Alarcon, Mr.
28 special.
Sure.
Rosendahl. Ms. Perry, that would take us to 30 days is the recess. Do you want to take it right before the recess, or do you want to have it after?
We can do it 45.
Okay. So 45, I will work with the clerk to figure out what that is. I think that is still during the recess. We'll take that up
I believe that would take us to January 8th.
January 8th, okay. There's no objection. We will continue that till January 8th. Other specials, colleagues? Like to, you have another amendment, I believe, Mr. Parks, as well?
3. And just like to have an instruction to the city attorney to expedite the preparation of the appropriate documents to expedite the sale and transfer of the surplus equipment.
Okay. Is there any objection to that? If not, that'll be accepted as a friendly amendment. Mr. Alacon?
Item number 5 for 2 weeks.
We already voted on that, so we'll have to reconsider that. We'll come back to that. Okay. And on item 34, I'd like to give a verbal amendment to recommendation number 2. It should say direct the DOT, GSD, and the city administrative officer to report back in 5 months with a draft request for bids that will be used as part of a feasibility study. Those 3 departments will report back in 1 year with the findings and recommendations resulting from the feasibility study, including a cost analysis of procuring 1 city contract for propane fuel for all city services requiring this fuel. Ms. Gruhl asked me to make sure that was included. So if there's no objection to that, we will include that with 34. Are there any other specials, colleagues? Any other specials? If not, let's go ahead then and open the roll on the balance. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Those are all approved except for 7 through 9, being ordinances and fewer than 12 members present. Those will be carried over 1 week. Next items, please.
Items 39 through 78, with the exception of items 39 and 60, are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Okay. Do we have cards on any of those?
There are cards on item 53, 57, 62, 67, and that's it so far.
Okay. Those will be called special for cards in the public. Other specials? 54 for Mr. Labange. Via Mr. Alacon. Wait, you say for Mr. Labange or for yourself?
I'm doing it for everybody.
Okay. Oh, sorry. I thought I misheard you. Mr. Alacon.
Item 57B.
57?
I'd like to receive and file.
D. Okay. Oh, V as in Victor. So 57V, if there's no objection to receiving and filing that, when we vote on that, that will be the order. Other specials, colleagues? Other special items? Yes, Mr. Reyes?
I apologize, but number 38, please. That one's. I thought
38. Okay, we'll reconsider that with number 5 when we come back to that.
Mr. President?
Yes, Ms. Perry?
Just wanted to call 65 special to receive and file it.
Just to receive and file? So we'll just move the receive and file. Okay. On 65 to receive and file. Okay. You have that, Mr. Clerk?
And Mr. President, I believe there is a substitute motion in the works on item 70. Do you wish to hold that on the desk right now?
Yeah, let's hold that on the desk until we have the substitute motion available. And let's go ahead and, on the balance, let's go ahead and open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Items 40 through 51 will carry over 1 week for a second reading as ordinances. The other items not called special will be continued. Next items.
On the supplemental agenda, item 79 is an item for which public hearing has been held. This is confirmation of a city official. Do you wish to hold that on the desk?
Please, let's hold that on the desk.
And that would conclude the items called special. Do you wish to take up public comment?
Before that, let's reconsider items 5 and 38, please. If we can open the roll on reconsideration. And 38 is the second. Okay, please open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
With approval, those two will now be called special. Items number 5 and 38. 38 for Mr. Reyes and 5 for Mr. Alacon. Okay, Mr. Alacon?
The request of Mr. Weiser would like to ask to continue that matter for 2 weeks.
Number 5?
Number 5.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Alacon. If there's no objection, we'll continue to item 5 until December 4th. Item number 5, without objection, will continue to the 4th of December. Okay? And now we will go to public comment. And James Ota is our first speaker. Good morning, sir. If you'd like to come forward, we also have the clock there to help people with their time and a code of conduct for addressing the council. We want to welcome you, and we look forward to hearing what you have to say.
Morning, President Arcetti and members of the LA City Council. My name is James Ota, James Ota Trucking, and Harbor Truckers for a Sustainable Future.
If you get a little closer to the microphone, we'll hold your time. Go ahead.
Like this?
Yeah, that's better. Thank you.
Okay. CAP is a bold move to show the nation that the ports of Long Beach and Los Angeles are going to help clean the air at the nation's busiest ports. This effort is to help eliminate many health issues caused by the diesel engines at the port. The harbor trucking industry and the independent truck drivers will do their share by replacing the 16,000 trucks within the next 5 years. Starting on October 1st, 2008, all pre-1989 trucks must be replaced and others will be retrofit to meet the 2007 diesel engine particulate and NOx emission. All trucks that need to be replaced should not have any requirements other than the truck has been doing business in the harbor. The engine horsepower on the trucks being replaced should not be a requirement on a trade-in. The ports are stating that all pre-1989s be replaced because they will become scrap metal. The newer trucks is to meet the 2007 standard the port is requesting all harbor truckers to do. Is it the new technology that the ports are using for the standard or the engine horsepower that's given this lowest emission on diesel particulates and NOx emission that they are using? The concession portion of CAP is not acceptable. Concession is only a way the union can get into the harbor trucking industry by eliminating the 16,000 truckers and 1,400 harbor trucking companies. Creating a new company to replace the 1,400 companies creates congestions in the harbor. We will be eliminating both companies and drivers in 2008 because of the pre-1989 trucks and the TWIC. If the union is so set in getting into the harbor trucking industry, let them start their own company and compete with the rest of us. But don't take away our companies to be replaced by union companies and drivers. Just look at today with the riders' unions and their strike going on for the second week. Their support groups are slow because the riders are not working. But after the strike is over, all will go back to work. Eliminating the harbor companies and independent drivers, what support groups will be able to return to work? Few, if any. Let us all work on CAP for the clean air. Help eliminate some of the health issues we create with our dirty truck engines. Help eliminate the long waiting lines at the terminals, but no to concession. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ota. Our next speaker is Beth Doris. She'll be followed by Sky Anderson, but first we have Beth Doris. Good morning to you.
Good morning. I'm talking about item 29, which is the proposed variance allowing a mega billboard on the very border of Los Angeles facing a number of residents in Gardena. The Gardena residents feel a bit disenfranchised by the whole process. The MND that was proposed to support it does not support it. There was a settlement agreement reached with...
I'm sorry, ma'am. I think under our rules, we can't, in general public comment, we can't take comments about items that are on the agenda. And I know this received a public hearing already, so under our rules, we're not able to hear that in this section. Somebody could reopen the public hearing, but that would have to be one of the council members, so otherwise we'd be out of policy.
Well, we would appreciate that and want to make sure that you receive the comments that we submitted earlier today.
Thank you, yeah, and we will make sure that we do have those. Thank you very much. Appreciate your understanding. Sky Anderson is our next speaker. Then we'll go out to the San Fernando Valley. Miriam Fogler will be our first speaker out there following Mr. Anderson. Good morning.
I'm Sky Anderson, excuse me, a community activist. I've been a resident of Los Angeles for 8 years. Until they instituted, the Founding Fathers instituted the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, the government was the ruler of the people. And because of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, the government should be the servant of the people. What has allowed the people to do is to create the most prosperous, free, greatest nation in the world, because people can act on their talents and not be repressed by the government. There's been a lot of talk about the increase in taxes and the increase in government spending. In my experience with with employees of the county of city of Los Angeles, is that most of them will not do their job. I can give you personal examples, but that would take too much time. I read articles in People's Magazine about celebrities who had addiction problems. They'd gone through rehab, and they come out with one conclusion: they have a disease and they need to take care of it. Most of the residents on city Skid Row are drug addicts and alcoholics. They have a disease of addiction. If a celebrity who has money and prestige and power can get help, why can't the lowest man on the totem pole get treatment? That's the solution to our Skid Row problem. A lot of them are mentally ill. Some of them are just innocent people who got victimized by not having enough money. But most of them are drug addicts and alcoholics. and there's help available for them. The City of West Hollywood has one building. The City of West Hollywood has one building devoted to recovery meeting. People meet there all day long and learn how to get off drugs. The City of Los Angeles might consider putting a nice facility in Skid Row where people can come and get constant 12-step meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Our next speaker is Miriam Fogler out in Van Nuys. She'll be followed by Donna Pearman. We've just been informed that we're having technical difficulties with Van Nuys, so we will try to correct those and come back to the Van Nuys speakers. In the meantime, Matthew Dowd is our next speaker here.
Yes, thank you. Let me inform the public I'm now in the political speech zone. And since the symbolic moratorium has been recognized by the City of Los Angeles, and I can talk about that, I want to notice the LA Times had an excellent article. But I can't understand how they ended up talking all about Michael Hunt and Matthew Dowd. Because they understand that our usage of that word is the correct usage, not violent or threatening in any way. And the LA Times finally understand they got the story right. So they got a wicked sense of humor. The good old LA Times. Every time they want to get back at you for something silly, they do this the second time now. But guess what? Yahoo.com today, there's an article by the JFA Institute, a Washington criminal justice research group, saying that the prison system is a costly and harmful failure right now because of contemporary laws and justice system practices exacerbate the crime problem, unnecessarily damage the lives of millions of people, and waste tens of billions of dollars. The massive incarceration of young males from mostly poor and working class neighborhoods. The system is feeding on itself now. These are the words of 8 major criminologists from public universities funded by the Rosenbaum Foundation and by political activist George Soros' Open Society Institute. So don't talk about discrimination, Jan Perry, or any of you guys when you're doing it out there on the beach.
Thank you, Mr. Dowd. Our next speaker is Chuck Tenon.
Ready? Okay. Good morning, council members, President Garcetti, Chuck Tenon. The city agencies are supposed to protect our communities and infrastructures. We have a hearing tomorrow, and we believe that we should have a fair hearing. There's a tape exists that is not a very nice tape, and we'd like the opportunity to play it before the city council tomorrow. It's a very serious breach, and on the tape, very clearly it says, you will win the appeal no matter what, from city planning to the developer, and it went on a recorded telephone message machine of the appellant. And what we find is the process can't be fair unless the decision makers, who are the judges, can keep an open mind. Tony Cardenas said about a week ago that as a legislative body, we make our decision based on what's presented to us. Well, after Planning Commission made a determination, Jane Usher said, oh my gosh, what a serious breach in ethics in their responsibility. I'm so sorry and apologize to me. And she did that publicly after a determination was made. So in presenting something, as Tony Cardenas says, in all fairness, we should present this tape because this tape has something on there that's not nice. It shows something that went on behind our backs. I paid money for a fair hearing, and you as the legislative body should let both sides say what they have to say. It's only fair because it seems like as judges be judges, but when a judge becomes an advocate on the side of the developer, it's not fair. So I hope tomorrow you'll allow me to play this tape. That is a very serious tape, and everybody should hear it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tenen. Our next speaker is Manny Sandoval, and after that will be Jonel Romero. Again, I want to apologize to the Van Nuys folks who went down to Van Nuys. We have been informed that we will not be able to repair the teleconferencing facilities. This happens unexpectedly from time to time. Our apologies, sincere apologies to folks who went out to Van Nuys for general public comment, but I've been informed that will not be up today. So, Manny Sandoval is our next speaker.
Can I give up my time?
Unless you'd like to go first, either order. Okay.
Can I give up my time for Mrs. Romero?
We don't. We can't yield time, but you can do 2 minutes each, and in whichever order you'd like.
Okay. I'd like to present to council tomorrow at 11 o'clock at the Los Angeles Historic State Park. We are having the first American Indian Holocaust Memorial Tree of Life tribute, and it's open to the public. We will be performing the Red Road ceremony in honor of our American Indian ancestors who were murdered in our Holocaust, and our International Indigenous Sacred Women's Council will be there to perform the ceremony, as well as Elizabeth Kucinich, who's also on our council, and we will be planting a tree in honor of our Holocaust, and we would like to invite all City Council to be in attendance if possible, if your schedule permits. And this is the first one, so thank you for your time. To Ed Reyes.
Thank you. Mr. Sandoval?
Yes, I'd like to present these posters here to Ed Reyes,
Jose Huizar,
Jose Huizar,
Tom LaBlache,
and Tom LaBlache,
for their help with our powwow and parade that we did 2 weeks ago. It's a poster, and we'd like to honor them with this and thank them for all the generous support, for stepping up to the plate at the last minute and being so gracious to help us in this regard. So we'd like to give them this.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Mr. Reyes and Jose Huizar.
All right, good. We'll make sure they all get it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Our next speaker will be Donna Doherty.
That's it.
Is Donna Doherty here? Good morning, Ms. Doherty.
Good morning. It's nice to be back and see all of you. Sorry I missed my time, but illness called. In any case, my name is Donna Doherty, and of course I'm here about nothing less than Griffith Observatory and the lack of access at the front 4 doors. And we just had a big holiday, Veterans Day. I'm sure all of us remember that. And I've given each of you a picture here, which was on the cover of the New Yorker magazine, with a fellow sitting in a wheelchair, obviously a military personnel sitting in a wheelchair, and not being able to get up the steps. There are 12 steps there, and actually, if there's anybody that we should be honoring with going in the front door, it should be our military personnel. We know that we could have and should have, and still can, we know for sure that we can put ramps across the east and the west steps without destroying any of the historic preservation. And by the way, I have my own little historic bag here. I belong to the National Trust for Historic Preservation for at least 25 years. So I'm not against, providing or keeping the historic fabric, but we really need to go back. Everybody is doing it all across the United States. This is a different century. We need to combine access, universal design it's called, so that everybody walking to that front 4 doors can make their own choice between sloping walkways, which seem to be the preference, and the 12 steps. So we're going back, and as we have been asked to do by Mitch Pomerantz, the Americans with Disabilities Act coordinator for the City of Los Angeles, we will go to Washington, D.C., to the Department of Justice to sue the city. That's what he asked us to do. And so we will do that if we are not able to get together in a group and talk about this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Doherty. That will close our general public comment. We have two requests for items out of order. First for our general manager, and then second, after that, Mr. Rosendahl asked item 28 go second. If there's no objections, we'll take general manager and then item 28. Is that okay? Okay. So we'll do general manager and then 28? I heard that was okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right. And Ms. Perry, if you'd like to, Mr. Zaldivar, if you'd like to come forward.
Yeah.
Item number 79, please, Mr. Clerk.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And while Mr. Saldivar is coming to his seat, we had a very wonderful opportunity to speak with him yesterday in the Energy and Environment Committee about his qualifications, which are extensive with great depth and substance. And it's also a pleasure to see someone who has risen through the ranks and serves as a role model and an inspiration for those who are coming behind him to now elevate him as permanent director of the Bureau of Sanitation. Many of us have worked with him for a number of years in organizing and executing and implementing community events quite successfully. Not only is he has a great expertise in doing outreach, education, public information, but his background is uniquely suited, as if there weren't enough civil engineers in the department. Now we have yet another who's gotten elevated. So a message to all the civil engineers that it's a good degree to have if you want to have a career path in public works. And he is the embodiment of that. And with that, I'd just like him to speak for a few moments, if he will, about his unique and specific qualifications for this position.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Perry. Indeed, is an honor. Good morning, honorable council members. Indeed, it is an honor to have been appointed by Mayor Villaraigosa to be the permanent director of the Bureau of Sanitation, and it's equally an honor to be here before you for my confirmation. If you allow me, I will just like to read a brief statement. I've tried doing it out of memory other times, and I don't do very well. So I'll just, if you don't mind, it's handwritten though, so it's almost as good as it's almost as good as coming from memory. The Bureau of Sanitation has been entrusted with the stewardship of some of the most essential elements of this city's environmental infrastructure. Every one of the Bureau's 3 core programs, wastewater, solid resources, and watershed protection, have a direct correlation to the fundamental well-being of our city's environment, be it its water, be it its land, or be it its air. With our nearly 3,000 employees, the Bureau of Sanitation takes pride in providing excellent service to our nearly 1.3 million residential customers and 230,000 business customers. We are also very proud of the relationships we have forged with the many active and contributing environmental organizations across the city. Much like water and electric utility service, the residents and the businesses of our great city expect and rightly demand reliable and environmentally sound wastewater, solid waste, and stormwater management services. Service fee receipts from all of the 3 programs are approaching $1 billion for the Bureau of Sanitation. When I think about it in those terms, it seems like a daunting fiduciary and fiscal responsibility that I now fully recognize and very much aware of. I know how important environmental stewardship is to every one of you. You each have championed many initiatives across the environmental spectrum. I want you to know that the Bureau of Sanitation, through all of our dedicated staff, will always be ready to assist in carrying out your vision, your policies of the council and the mayor. I appreciate your support for my confirmation to be the permanent director of the Bureau of Sanitation, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you very, very much. And we had an extensive conversation yesterday in committee, but I think just based on what Mr. Zaldivar has said, you can see why he is an excellent choice and someone with whom many of us have a long history and a good track record. And so this is going to be a very good, strong relationship with this Bureau, and I look forward to good things coming out of your shop and working together with all of us. So congratulations, and thank you, Mr. President, for allowing me a few moments to speak on his behalf.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mr. Cardenas.
Sanitation. I think it was, I heard a quote, I don't know who originated it, but they said that water's for life, sanitation is for dignity. Until you have problems with sanitation, you really don't get the quote. But thank God the city of Los Angeles has some pretty good dignity going on in our sanitation system. But at the same time, can you please explain to us, as a city, second largest city in the country, are we in some kind of transition right now? Are we looking at just doing things the way we've done it for the last 50 years or 100 years? Or does it look like we're in a transition and having to figure out how to do things better, cleaner, more responsibly when it comes to the environment and also our infrastructure? My time, please.
Thank you, Councilmember Cardenas. We are definitely in transition, but I also want to say that we're well on our way to a new way of doing business and all environmental aspects of the Bureau's activities, be it solid waste. We used to be a disposal kind of an operation. We have become a resource recovery recycling operation. We are proud to say that we are at 62% diversion, which is the leading recycling rate in the nation of any large city. We need to get to 70%, so we're very much on our way there.
Slow down, Mr. Zaldivar. Both of us are engineers. Can you use a little bit different language that maybe somebody uses at home, like trash and putting things in a hole versus, taking things and recycling it and making new products out of it? Can you take us down that path?
Well, that was part of the transition, Council Member. I have sort of shed the old language.
Okay.
I can no longer utter the word, trash. But yes, the trash is what we used to collect. We see that is actually valuable, and so it's now a recyclable. So for everybody out there, anything that goes in the black bin and the trash bin, put it in the blue bin. Anything that is recyclable. We're getting there to where we can make everything recyclable. Yes, put it in the blue is what I would say to the average, to our residents. Put the recyclables in the blue.
Now, we're talking about trash. Is there any other element of sanitation or things that we get rid of on a daily basis that's the responsibility of your department, besides what goes into blue bins and green bins and black bins?
Yes, there's what we call our bulky items. People, that's a large part of what we do as a business. We have every single day 1,000 requests that we respond to for that kind of service. Folks bring it out to the curb, and recently, just 2 months ago, we rolled out a brand new program in which we made that service accessible to all apartment residents in the city, all 540,000 apartment residents, something that they didn't have before, which was part of the reason why there was illegal dumping all over the city. We believe that through that program now, we will get very close to eliminating illegal dumping. Very close.
So these are couches and refrigerators and things of that nature that people leave on the curb. We're being much more proactive about picking those up, not only in front of single-family residents, but in front of apartments as well, and in alleyways, et cetera. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct.
Okay. Is your department responsible for things like sewage?
Yes, that is our largest program in the department. We have, in terms of volume, close to 500 million gallons a day. 500 million gallons. I know you're going to ask me, well, how much is that? Well, that's a tiny piece of the ocean. Our water consumption, all of the water that the Department of Water Power brings in, which, since you're an engineer, they use terminology of acre feet per year. We made a conversion, so it's about 550 million gallons a day that the Department of Water brings in. Of that,
a bunch of it comes
up in the wastewater, which we treat, and we are pushing harder now to recycle much of that, working with the Department of Water and Power. So we treat about 450 million gallons per day, of which close to 80 million gallons per day is high-quality reclaimed water, some of which is recycled. But we need to do more there, too.
Okay, so bottom line is when it comes to that 80 million gallons a day, we're working on getting that number up.
Yes.
Recovering more of that water, putting it back into the environment in a much more responsible fashion, and making sure that it's clean before we do that, correct?
That's correct.
But unfortunately, most of it still ends up into the ocean, is it? Or what is it? Most of
it goes to the ocean through the LA River. It does provide for a habitat formation in the LA River, but yes, it goes to the ocean.
So all of these blue bin, black bin, green bin programs, cleaning up our water and our sewage and making sure we're much more responsible with the environment and all of these things that we're discharging and trying to get rid of, we do all that for free? It just kind of like happens? Or what's the budget of your department to describe the overall budget for all of these matters?
I mentioned earlier that I'm looking at the department from a different vantage point, and we're approaching $1 billion in fee revenue.
Can you clarify, was that an M or a B?
Billion, and B,
billion. Okay.
As in boy, billion. That means that from the case of wastewater sewers, there's a fee that residents and businesses pay, sewer service charge. That's about $650 million a year. Then for trash services, for recycling services, that's what's normally known as a trash fee. That's the solid resources fee, but it's the trash fee. That's about $210 million a year. We have another fund, the Stormwater Pollution Abatement Fund, which brings in close to $30 million a year. And we have a multiplicity of smaller special funds. Total for the department, it's close to $1 billion.
Annually?
Annually.
That means 2 years ago it was less than $1 billion, last year was closer to $1 billion, and this year it's about $1 billion. So that means over a 3-year period, we're spending or investing or having to spend close to $3 billion over a 3-year period.
Yes.
Yeah.
In general, yes.
In general, yeah.
Yes.
Now, how much do we need to spend in the next 5 to 10 years on making sure that we fix piping and retrofit and get ready to do things differently and invest in those infrastructure needs?
Thank you for the question.
Is it in the hundreds of millions or is it in the billions?
It's in the billions.
Okay.
It's in the billions.
Okay, now some of that we may even have to ask the voters or the people of Los Angeles to go ahead and give us bond authority or what have you to take care of those kinds of major expenses, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, when we do put in a new pipe or we do put in a new facility to clean up water, how long does that facility or that piece of infrastructure last? Does it last a few years or tens of years? My time, please.
Generally, that kind of infrastructure improvements have a 50-year service life, council member, 50 years. But we have pipes that are older than 100 years.
And the reason why they're older than 100 years usually is because we don't have enough money to fix them today?
That's correct.
Okay. So we need to get more aggressive about making sure we fix things before they break. And if we fix something before it breaks, is it more expensive to fix it after it breaks or more expensive to fix it before it breaks?
It's more expensive after it breaks.
Okay. I'll push my button again.
All right. Are you done, Mr. Frank? Are you done?
No, I was going to push my button again because my time ran out.
Thank you. Mr. Garcetti, then, thank you for pushing your button again.
Thank you. It's good self-policing, Mr. Cardenas. We appreciate that. First, let me start, if I can actually hold my time. I have a statement from Councilmember Smith, who couldn't be here, but wanted to, Councilmember Greg Smith, who's the chair of our ad hoc Renew LA committee and kind of one of our all-around sanitation gurus. He said, I would have liked to have been here today to personally state my support for this appointment. Enrique Zaldivar is a general manager that the council will be proud of, and he will continue an extremely positive working relationship with the council. Enrique has been part of the renaissance of the Bureau of Sanitation that has made Los Angeles a world leader in recycling. He has also worked in close partnership with my office, helping us to accomplish the many goals of Renew LA plan, including zero waste. I've seen the department change its priorities under his leadership from where to put the trash to how to best utilize our waste resources. Enrique will also guide the continuing and unprecedented SWRP citywide stakeholder process to achieve our ambitious resource conservation, recovery, and waste minimization goals. I want to offer my continued support and sincere congratulations to Enrique on this well-deserved appointment. So while he can't vote today, it sounds like he would have been a yes. I want to add my congratulations to you, Enrique. I have very much enjoyed working with you over the last years as I've been an elected official. And you, I think, have been a model, and part of a model department that policymakers set the goal, and you not only meet that goal, you surpass it. That's an ideal world, I think, for all of us around these horseshoes and the constituents that we represent. That those that have the knowledge and the expertise also figure out a way to go beyond what we thought was possible. And I think the numbers reflect that, whether it's our diversion rate of recycling of 62%, that will be 72% before we know it. Sorry, 70% before we know it. I added 2% just for fun. Whether it's the implementation of our TMDLs, which I think we've been a nationwide leader. We've shown the way, instead of fighting, of how we can actually get out in front of clean water in this city. And we appreciate everybody's work on that as well. And, you know, the core services that we provide, whether it's picking up bulky items, whether it's the trash collection that we do, you have shown the way. You know, my father grew up as a young boy in South Los Angeles, about 63rd Street and Estrella, just next to what's now the 110 freeway. And as a young man, as a boy and then a young man, what he wanted to be was a sanitation refuse collector. It was what all the kind of boys in his neighborhood wanted to be. And he always says that was probably what led him into a life of public service. He had to deal with trash in a different way in his job, but he always taught me growing up the importance of having those basic core city services. A couple questions I'd like to just ask you. You obviously have my support. The department has my support as well. And I think you reflect an entire collection of people who are innovators, who are communicators. And we've talked about this a number of times. Can you give us your plan for communicating better on the trash collection side, how Angelenos can do that? I think that's probably the number one issue, if I had to pick one, even more than clean water, that Angelenos ask, what can be recycled? Why didn't I know that? How can, you know, what do we prepare? A milk carton that has wax coating on it versus a wire hanger? Why does one go here and there? How does it have to be washed? What plans do you have to more aggressively, and I know part of it is a funding mechanism, but to more aggressively help us and help the city communicate better with Angelenos so we can continue to drive the percentage up of the trash we recycle?
Councilmember Garcetti, thank you for your support. On that very question, you know, last year we rolled out what we consider a very innovative program, the Ambassador Program, that we realized that I'll use the word, the complexity of what is recyclable and what isn't required a more up-close attention from us to our customers and the residents. Because, like you said, you know, there's materials that come with all kinds of different ways. Is this cardboard or is it really aluminum foil? So that's been one answer to how we can better communicate at the doorstep, at the front of the door, not only what is recyclable, but what else a resident may be mistakenly putting in the black container that should go in the blue container. That's been one approach. Last year, the council funded us close to $1.3 million in an education campaign, which we leveraged the best we could, using bus shelter ads, bus ads, newspaper ads. So we've done that as well. Now, an opportunity that we have that we could be using more of, and we are going to be using more of. Our drivers used to have a great connection with their customers in the old system. But because of it being an automated collection system, and Councilmember Labange brings this up all the time, there's a distance now between our drivers and the customer. Well, you know, on days in which we can find a few seconds in our driver's time, we're going to reestablish that connection. And the driver will be communicating with the resident via either a brochure or, if the resident happens to be around, exchange. So we will use our drivers as education agents as well.
We appreciate that, and even a mailing, which I know creates a little more paper and potentially a little bit more trash, but a booklet that people could have in their homes. You know, if we're funding 1.3 million, if we could look at that in future years, I think people would use that in their home. They would look at it in English and Spanish and maybe even other languages. That would be, I think, very helpful. I know my time has just expired, so let me conclude. I know we've got a lot of work to do. We're going to have billions of dollars more for clean water. We have to figure out the mechanism for funding that, expanding our food recycling, which has been a great model program, and continuing to innovate. And I want to thank you and the department for doing that. I know you're here with your family the same day you were appointed. You had a new member of the family join, your young daughter, who did as most constituents do, came to council chambers and promptly fell asleep. But we want to thank them all and congratulate the family as well, because it's through their support that you will and continue to be the success that you have been.
If I may introduce him, I don't know.
Please, go ahead.
May I? My wife, Brenda Zaldivar. She's holding Karina Gabriela, 2 months old. Our younger son, Alonso Zaldivar, who is a big USC fan, and then his older brother, Enrique Carlos, who is a big Notre Dame fan. Not having a great year.
I think, Mr. Zaldivar, I think by saying that USC fan thing, you might have just lost a couple of votes.
But I'm a UCLA fan.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to turn your mic off now because USC is in the majority here. Next, Mr. Labange will speak.
Congratulations. Thank you for your service to Los Angeles. You have a beautiful family, and you got a beautiful family behind you. Stand out all the Bureau of Sanitation, along with your beautiful own family there. Give the Sanitation Bureau a big hand. And I stop where I can when I see your team working the sewers of Los Angeles. I stop where I can to thank every collector in Los Angeles. It's a very important job, and it touches the city every day. So I thank you for your leadership. I thank Rita Robinson for her great leadership in the previous post that she had there. Sanitation does it every day. Recycle, reuse, and cut down the waste. Thank you. You got my vote.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. Mr. Alarcon.
What a pleasure it is to stand and express support for Enrique Zaldivar. He is, not only is he a longtime friend, we were in the city service long before I was a councilman, and so it's good to see somebody come up through the ranks and do well. I only wonder sometimes maybe I could have been a success if I had stayed in the system. But
you've done quite well, Councilman.
Enrique, the resume is so impressive, most importantly because it is replete with references to his work on improving our environment. Whether we're talking about establishing transfer stations and MRFs and recycling, the word is used through his resume throughout. Alternative fuels for the division. I know that Sanitation Department has been the leader in looking at alternative fuels. When other departments should actually be vanguarding that issue. I believe the Sanitation Department has been the vanguard for the City of Los Angeles in that area. The Green Waste Mulching Facility, he oversaw the operation and marketing functions of that organization. Increased the capture rate of recyclables. This guy is not only is his resume replete with environmental references, but he's not done. He's decided that he wants to get his degree in environmental management at a master's level, and so he wants to learn more about how he can serve Los Angeles better. So I am very excited that you have been selected, and as a friend, but also in recognition of the tremendous work that you've made. I also can say that he's been absolutely responsive at every level, every time. Never has he let my office down when we are asking for support or when we have a tough issue to contend with in the Northeast San Fernando Valley. Most recently, we've had to deal with a manure issue. He was all on that, if you, not literally, but he helped us resolve that issue. And we're still working on that process, and I'm sure he will be able to help again. Liquefied natural gas is a direction that the City of Los Angeles has to move in. You're talking about locating a facility at Lopez Canyon. More importantly, if you could just briefly, for the Council's benefit, tell us where we're going in terms of liquefied natural gas. I believe the Department has been the vanguard on that issue as well. And so if you could tell us a little bit about how we are looking to manage this tremendous opportunity.
Sure, Councilmember Alarcon. Thank you for your support. One of the strategic decisions that we as a city made some years back was to pursue liquefied natural gas as our clean fuel source. Others would go to compressed natural gas, but liquefied natural gas is a decision we made. So we're into year 4. Half of our fleet now has gone to liquefied natural gas. General Services Department is our partner in this, but availability of natural gas in a liquefied form is difficult for market reasons. Generally, the gas here comes in air form, in compressed natural gas or in natural gas, but liquefied form, there's very little availability, so there's a shortage, believe it or not. We truck our fuel in from a small town across the Colorado River in Arizona, Lompoc it's called, across the Colorado River. We truck it all the way from over there because there isn't liquefied natural gas. So we saw an opportunity at Lopez Canyon, since we have methane there from the landfill, that we could go through a process of liquefying and generate our own. Now, the quality of methane from a landfill degenerates over time, which it's supposed to do. So whether it's methane from the landfill or just natural gas from the market, our interest would be to build a liquefied natural gas plant at Lopez Canyon.
Thank you.
And then increase our availability of natural gas, liquefied natural gas.
And just to finish up the other side of the question, what are the benefits that we will gain from doing that?
So by us going to clean fuel, the benefits not only obvious, but we no longer have particulate matter that's inherent in diesel. Even with us using trapping mechanisms or catalytic mechanisms in the emissions, there are other nitrous oxides and sulfur oxides present in other trace organics and others that are inherent to diesel that are not in natural gas. So it's a tremendous benefit in cleaning up the air in the basin.
Well, thank you. And this is no slight on the previous director of Bureau of Sanitation. She's doing important things at the Department of Transportation, and we hope she'll stay there. But I want to congratulate you, and I'm looking forward to working with you in your division. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Rosendahl.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President. It's a love fest, and rightly so. The 2 years I've been on this council, I had the pleasure of working with you before the Renew LA and all these other things as you were reporting to that committee. And you bring a lot of courage on some of the environmental issues. You bring a lot of knowledge, a lot of professionalism, and with all your colleagues here, which speaks volumes of how the staff appreciates you. So I know it's a great choice, and we're all lucky, frankly, to have you accept this position. Some quick questions, okay? Question number 1. When we raise the trash fee, we hear a lot of pushback from residents. How can we explore an aggressive pay-as-you-throw system to empower residents to reduce their trash fees? Can we give them a financial incentive to reduce, reuse, and recycle more of their waste? Hold my time.
Thank you, Councilmember Rosenthal. Yes, we can do more there. just like metering water, metering anything else, when folks know how much the consumption is, it's true of all of us. We can be more careful on what we do or not do. So the same could apply in the trash business or in the recycling business. We have a system now that is somewhat metered, if you will, using volume rather than weight as a way of incentivize or disincentivize. Could we go the more sophisticated way and use weight? We're exploring that. We're exploring that by experimenting with scales that are Commerce certified.
Could you hold my time, please? Go ahead.
So yes, there's an opportunity there.
There is. Good. We look forward to that. Second question is, how are we doing on our goal to convert our fleet of refuse collecting trucks to alternative fuels? How are we doing?
We're doing very well. We're starting to get nervous. We're starting to get worried because what that means is that the infrastructure that is needed to support, like fueling stations, we need one on the west side. And I know you have very, very generously offered to help us, and your staff is helping us. We need one in North Central too. And Councilmember Reyes, we're working with the council member to make that happen.
You're very good. And on that same note, as we are looking at it, we're looking at sharing facilities with LAWA and seeing if we can get a joint location, and that's what we're exploring.
Yes, and we appreciate your assistance.
And my last question, you can have some water there, which is the DWP water right next to you. There's a bottle. As watershed protection staff put the final touches on the water quality compliance master plan, how will you lead sanitation and work with other city departments to implement this plan to meet our water quality targets?
Well, we have to work very closely with them, and from time to time, maybe use the hammer a little bit. But it's something that every department. Just recently, for example, the EPA came and did an audit on the port, and from a water quality standpoint, we work hand in hand with the port to ensure that they have best management practices in place, house cleaning items, and what have you. But that's an example of where we work with a department as large as the port or LAWA or any other smaller departments as well.
Well, bless you for stepping to the plate. We really are pleased that you're accepting it. It'll be good for the city and for all of the community. Congratulations.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you. Mr. Reyes is our next speaker.
Thank you, Council President. Good day. It's a big day, and it's good to see your family here. And I want to thank your wife for lending you to us, because I know how much time he spends with the city. And so I want to thank your sons as well for allowing him to share this time with the city. But I wanted to, thank you for your support in this process that we engaged in the Alley River. I know the Department of Engineering has taken the lead in putting the master plan together, but I think this is a process about how we collaborate. In my mind, every department has a lead position in the respective areas. I think your department is particularly exciting because now we are at a place where we can get out of this factory pipeline mentality and how we deal with recycling and how we deal with stormwater runoff and Department of Sanitation's role in our waste issues. I look at the Potsdamplatz in Berlin, Germany, where they actually have subterranean infrastructure that helps clean the waterways, helps capture the contaminants, creating new platforms for new value, added value in our airspace. Imagine we can do that over and over again along the river in communities that want it. This is the kind of pivotal place you are at. And I would hope that you can seize that opportunity and work not only with this council, but with the mayor and the leadership of the commission to put forth very real, tangible things we can touch, feel, and smell in a good way. The kinds of environments that could stimulate the positive energy that we deserve as a city. Can you speak to me as to what type of opportunities you would see in assessing, let's say, for example, your maintenance yards and how we don't fully use all of that space?
Thank you, Councilmember Reyes. And yes, they are the big legacy kind of initiatives such as the LA River and any other, but certainly that as an example, and how there's a broader vision to what is the city to do in the future, and how we as a department, through, in this case, our yards, fit into the bigger picture. We certainly can be selfish in protecting our department operations, and, I think you would expect us to be somewhat that way in some regard. But we also have to be able to see the bigger picture and how we fit into the bigger picture. In the case of the LA River and the North Central Yard, you know that we have the operation there and it's got to run every day. But are there opportunities that we could explore for the future? I think, we're in this dialogue right now with you, council member, and you know that there's the multi-interest to the yard, but in the long term, I don't see why we wouldn't be able to work, as we are through the commission's office and the mayor's office with your staff for the long term.
In regards to the use of natural habitats and looking at the ecosystems that in of itself perform the kind of functions that allows us to pick up our contaminants and clean our areas, is that something you can see us multiplying throughout the river corridor?
Absolutely. Water quality, as you said, certainly our mindset on the water side of our business used to be about flood control. Get the water in and out as quickly as possible. And yes, flood control is still an important dimension in our equation. But water quality now has reached an equal parity or more. So, Propo, which this council and the mayor championed, has given us a great opportunity to do some great things from a water quality perspective. Whether it's mandated or not, yes, it is mandated. And Sharam, from my staff, knows that firsthand, the TMDLs and all the others. So, yes, we have many opportunities, Councilman, to create water quality improvements and habitat formation as a secondary benefit.
Well, I look forward to, in closing, I look forward to working with you and looking at our specific plan, the RIO, and how we are assessing the land use patterns. And with your help of your personnel, along with building and safety and planning, start codifying where these locations could occur, actually put them in the code books in such a way where our zoning patterns will be predictable and allow for not only investment, but to distinguish real functions that talk about open space, that speak to multiple use, mixed income environments. So that's the direction I would hope we can take this city into before this class of council members leaves, hopefully with their third term. But this is the kind of objective that I see for us. I look forward to working with you in that capacity.
Thank you, Council Member Reyes.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes. Mr. Parks is our next speaker.
Thank you, Madam President. Enrique, congratulations. I want to just tell you that I tell people that since I've been in this job, I know more about the sewer system than I ever wanted to know. And most of that comes from the new language you're talking about, from they appreciate the education of knowing the difference between stormwater and wastewater. And then one day you spoke in one of the committees and you kept talking about the materials in the line, and I didn't have a clue what you were talking to until you pulled me aside and explained what materials were. But it has been an enjoyable time on the Renew LA Committee. The things that you've accomplished, whether it was Sunshine Canyon and the transition of moving trash to the point of looking at how we're talking about the recycling and the bins and the things that we're encouraging the public to do. And so I just wanted to say congratulations. It is a major plus, having grown up in the city, to see a person come up through the ranks and be able to then become a general manager. And that's a major benefit and role model for 40,000 employees that start their day saying one day they can achieve that. And so I think you will do well at being that role model. And also I just wanted to thank you for your dedication and also where you're Talk Trash hat with great pride that you have that we passed around the council when we had those several sessions. And I just want to say to Alonzo, you've picked the right school. Keep it up with USC. And Ricky, just the great thing about college football, every year it starts 0-0. So next year it could be your year. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Parks.
Thank you, Mr. Parks. Our next speaker is Ms. Hahn.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise obviously in great support, as my colleagues have already stated, in your rise to this position as our General Manager of the Bureau of Sanitation. You have a beautiful wife, beautiful children. That was a good move to bring the new baby here. It's very difficult to vote against you with the new baby here. But I have worked with you on so many issues, and like Councilmember Alarcon said, I found you to be so responsive and so receptive to some of the issues that I've had. You're very well liked by the staff, which is such a good endorsement. And I love it that you've been with the department, 20 years?
22.
How many?
22.
22 years. And as Bernard said, you've risen up through the ranks. And these are the kinds of general managers I believe in. And those who have worked in the department, have been in the city, understand the issues. So it's really, I think it's a perfect place for you. I wanted just to get you on record. You know that besides all your incredible responsibilities for the department and the obligations that we have as a city to deliver the service of picking up people's trash, one of the things you've been working on with me in San Pedro, we had a loss of some ball fields in San Pedro by a Target company that's coming in and got rid of ball fields that have been there over 40 years. And like every other council district, we're very thin on land for our kids to play ball on, and we have a sanitation yard in San Pedro that's been there for a very long time, and I just wanted to get you on record of helping us figure out how that maybe we could co-locate the sanitation yard and a sports complex. Hold my time, please.
Thank you, Councilmember Hahn. And yes, I'm looking at Mike in the background there too. But in terms of what we have done so far there with you, Councilmember, we've worked with the community gardens folks to bring some better existence to what currently is there, and have folks on my staff, Chris Johnson in particular, who worked really diligently with your staff and the community gardeners to bring that to order.
So we're going to keep working on that.
And in the future, as we look at having to do our yard, because as you know, it is old, it is dilapidated, and it's inadequate, we will look for a way to make better use of that site for the community at large. Just like the Field of Dreams for soccer.
That's right.
Not far from there,
That's
actually right adjacent. And what a great place that is now. The yard, we know it's a beautiful hill. We know it overlooks...
It's prime property.
Our staff like the location. So if at all possible, you know that we will work toward coexistence.
Music to my ears. One of the things I wanted to really applaud you for as well, you really are a man of vision. You were one of the first ones to tout the benefits of the tire project on Terminal Island, which takes our biosolids and puts them underneath the harbor. It saves about 1,500 miles of truck traffic where we were currently trucking our biosolids out to other counties. I was a little skeptical about that project, but you really took the time to educate me and to educate the community on the benefits of that. I want to thank you for that. I want to thank you for your leadership in Prop O. You were part of the application process that gave an unprecedented $117 million to Lake Machado. I know you're going to be part of the team that's going to help clean that up, as well as the Wilmington Drain. So your vision on both those issues is really critical. I know this is a love fest, but one issue I have in San Pedro, and I see my time running out, is the alleys. And I get complaints in my council office about your beautiful trucks sometimes destroying people's alleys. And we, as you know, we're very limited in our funds for repaving alleys in this city. You know, I know this is a sore spot, but, you know, have we ever thought about maybe taking a percentage of our sanitation fee and maybe sharing it with street services so that we could pave some of the alleys that we know your beautiful, clean trucks have damaged in the process? So I just think that's a problem that I don't know how to solve, and I get complaints every year about our alleys. We never have the money to fix them, and your trucks certainly are part of the problem. So maybe we could do solution. Maybe we can talk about not picking up the trash in the alleys anymore. I know that's logistically a huge issue. I'm willing to work with you because it's one of the biggest complaints I get, and I can't figure out how we can solve that.
I was looking back to see if tree services were around, but if they had paved the alley correctly to begin with, we wouldn't be having this problem.
Okay, so maybe maybe you and Bill Robertson can get together and talk about this.
I'm sure we are working with your staff to try. Ideally, we would prefer to be out of the alleys to council member.
I know. They're
it's
small.
tight,
The
we
trucks
damage.
are bigger. The alleys are smaller. Let's work on that. I also think we need to do a better job of recycling holiday trees. I think it's...
At curbside, I know you...
At curbside. You know, I worked for a company where we gave Western Waste, and we did curbside pickup of people's trees after the holidays. That's an incentive. I think it's difficult for people to put those trees back in their cars and drive them to a park. If we really want to incentivize recycling, I think that's one way to do it. I know we only have a couple of front loaders, which makes it difficult, but I think we need to do a better job about that.
I hear you clearly.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Hahn. Thank you so much. Mr. Zine.
Thank you. Everything's been said. You're a wonderful person, wonderful family, a little baby there who wants to go home. Boys want to go to school or play. Look at he's nodding. You want to get out of here, don't you? You want to stay here? We keep you here all day. A number of employees that want to go to work. The leader has to have a team that follows. And I ask the team, what do you say about this man, the general manager? All right. So you have my proxy. You get the support. Thank you.
Thank you, Council.
Mr. Cardenas to close.
Thank you very much. Can you please tell the public, where did you get your degrees? Where did you go to school?
I went to, I started at UCLA, so I can claim to be a Bruin, because I did my freshman year there.
All right.
Sproul Hall, you know, great for good there. I didn't leave because of that. I went to Cal Poly Pomona for engineering. I made a change in major, finished in civil engineering at Cal Poly Pomona here in the LA area, in civil engineering.
Civil engineering?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have a PE?
I have a PE.
What's a PE? That's not physical education.
Well, it stands for professional engineer, which in the engineering world means a great deal. That means that you're licensed to practice engineering. In the case of the Bureau of Engineering, it means that you're licensed to approve plans. So in our world, you cannot approve plans unless you are APE. And then most of our career paths, you cannot really move up unless you have a PE. So it's a big thing for us engineers.
Yes, it is. It's a very important title and not easy to get. In addition to that, I wanted to make sure. No, I'm not a PE. That's why I'm a councilman. That's why I'm a councilman. So now with that, I just wanted to point out, how long have you been working for the City of Los Angeles?
22 years, Councilman.
What was your first job with the City of Los Angeles?
In the Bureau of Engineering, designing treatment plants and wastewater collection systems, pumping plants. That was my first job in the Bureau of Engineering.
So have you had 1 or 2 or 3 or many more promotions since then?
I have had multiple moves. Fortunately, many of them were move-ups. But I have worked in treatment plants. One incident that I always used, I worked at nights fixing sewers. I've been in the Arroyo Secos at night in the Arroyo Seco. So I've worked in many parts of the Bureau and the Department of Public Works.
So the main thing that I wanted to point out is you're definitely qualified on paper, but at the same time, the fact that you've had so many different practical experiences, that you actually make a good candidate to run a department that is, you deal with the tangible and you deal with the non-tangible. And I think with some of the dialogue with some of the council members, I think your kids probably think you're crazy, but no, kids, your dad is not crazy. We've had a great demonstration that your father wants this job because he's dedicated and committed. Because to deal with all of us and all the crazy things on such issues that really people don't want to deal with, and dealing with issues like sanitations and sewers and things of that nature that nobody wants to know about, they just want to get rid of it and not even want to think about it. I think it's very important for everybody to understand that the dialogue that happened here today, I think it's very important for the City of Los Angeles to understand that this is one of the most important departments in the entire city. This is one of the most important issues that any community could ever need to address, and I think we have a fine person to take on that responsibility. Congratulations.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you, Mr. Cardenas. And before I ask the clerk to open the roll, I just want to say congratulations on behalf of all of us and look forward to a very good working relationship. I know you're going to do a great job. So, Madam Clerk, would you please open the roll?
If I may, just I want to.
Are you sure?
One gesture.
Somebody may change their mind.
No, one gesture of appreciation to my mentor, my predecessor, Rita Robinson, who I would like to thank her in public.
Thank you. All right, thank you. Now, with that, Madam Clerk, Mr. Clerk, would you please open the roll? Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Congratulations. Next item.
There was a request to take item 28 out of order by Councilmember Rosendahl.
Mr.
Thank you.
Rosendahl. Mr. Zine, is there?
I just have a brief introduction, if I may.
Okay.
Madam President.
Yeah.
We have 2 interns that are here from China. If you'll please stand. 2 interns from China. Dr. Tony Kwok and Dr. Ruby Yang, here from Guangzhou, China. One is the Urban Planning Bureau, Tony's Urban Planning Bureau, and Ruby Yang is the Director of Social Science Planning Department. They're going to be working in my office for the next month on an internship. Both PhDs come to us from China on an internship program. So welcome to the City of Los Angeles from all of us. Thank you. Thank you, Madam President.
Okay, Mr. Rosendahl.
Thank you, Madam President. Could we ask the city staff to come up on this item real quick, item 28? Item 28, colleagues, is on the consent calendar for denial, but I thought we should have a quick discussion about it, and frankly, it will be helpful for all of us to understand the seriousness of this issue and what the history of it has been historically, and I want to make it as quickly as possible. We have a lot of other business to do, but it might be a microcosm of some of the issues, especially about solar paneling and green. What's the issue?
Good morning, President Garcetti and members of the Commission, Council. My name is Jim Tokunaga. I'm with the City Planning Department, and this is an appeal on the disapproval from the West LA Planning Commission on a specific plan exception for height. The project itself is a 3-unit condominium building. The applicant, who is the appellant, had requested a 3-foot 4-inch height exception above the 30-foot height limit. The Planning Department and the West LA Area Planning Commission disapproved the request. We felt there was no special circumstances on the site. It was a self-imposed hardship, and that there really was no reason why he needed this exception.
Mm-hmm. Please, more comments.
Do you want to add something?
Okay.
Christopher Coon, City Planning Department. The issue at hand from the vantage point of the appellant is that the design of this building, a green building with solar panels, presents a unique circumstance that warrants an exception. From the Planning Department and the West LA Area Planning Commission looked at it differently and saw a building that was granted an approval to be built to a certain height, that was built at a height that exceeds that amount, regardless of the solar panels, and then asked for an exception after the fact, and that's what brought us here today.
And would you want to comment at all?
I'm Inspector Kelly from Building and Safety, and the building and safety issue is that the building is currently occupied by Mr. Baez, the owner, and he has rented 2 of the units. And that was done without a certificate of occupancy.
So he's flagrantly violating the law, is what you're telling me just now.
Correct.
And this process began in 2002, before my time, obviously. And every step of the way, was it approved, blessed, or what's the deal?
In 2002, he was issued a project permit adjustment for 29 feet, 17 inches. And then in July of 2003, the applicant came in for a specific plan exception to permit 3 units on the site instead of 2 that's permitted. The Planning Commission disapproved the request, and on appeal, the City Council approved the 3rd unit. And at that time, he knew that the height was 30 feet. I mean, the measurements were in the approval at that time, but he still built above the height limit.
When did the City Council do that? What year was it?
In July of 2003.
So then Council 2003 allowed it to be 3 units.
The Council granted the appeal.
But nobody said it should go above the 30 feet limit.
The 30 feet was the height limit.
So now it's above the height by how many feet? Inches?
Right, 3 feet 4 inches.
3 feet 4 inches, completed, and there's people in it and everything else.
That's
so
correct.
if we deny it, what happens?
Go ahead, can you?
Currently, Mr. Baez is in a criminal proceeding with the city attorney's office.
Criminal over what?
Over the failure to vacate the premises that he has inhabited without a certificate of occupancy. So that case would proceed.
And so what about 3.5 feet over? What do you do about that? Tear the building down, change it?
There would have to be a way that he would lower the building. Not necessarily tear it down, but perhaps lower the grade and lower the height, or reduce the rooftop somehow.
Colleagues, if you don't mind, I'd like to have the public hearing happen a little bit now, but I'm really looking for guidance among my colleagues on this one. This building is done. There are 3 units. It's above the law. It is a green building with solar panels, which is a new day we're living in. But there's a lot of issues here, and I'd really like to have a concerted discussion on this. Could we ask for the public hearing, Madam President, to start and have Chalice speak first?
Yes, Mr. Rosendahl. Our first speaker will be Dina Guidry, Donna Guidry, and then Alan Robert Block.
And this is a reminder to the council members, this is a fair hearing matter requiring the council members' heightened attention to the speaker.
Hi, my name is Donna Guidry, and I'm a friend and colleague of Mark Baez. I'm quite aware of the hardship, both financial and emotional, this situation has caused Mark, his family, and friends for the past 3.5 years. Mark's building was deemed 99% complete when this height discrepancy was discovered. He has worked diligently to come up with an acceptable solution with planning. His most recent proposal of lowering the roof to 32 feet should be an acceptable solution. 709 Fifth Avenue is a model residential structure using the newest green technology. This building is being recognized worldwide. Mark has been featured in numerous national magazines and television shows. His building surpasses the highest LEED certification of platinum. Mark has the support of all adjacent property owners and neighbors. I encourage you to support Mark Baez and this amazing green building. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Block is our next speaker.
Thank you, Madam Chair, President, Pro Tem, honorable members of the Council. Alan Block, representing Mark Baez. We're here this morning requesting an exception of the Venice-specific plan because the strict application of the policies and standards of the plan will result in practical difficulties and unnecessary hardship on Mr. Baez, and inconsistent with the general purposes and intent of the specific plan. There are exceptional circumstances, and this is a unique building. It was pre-engineered and pre-designed off-site, pre-assembled. It was only assembled on-site. It received the approval of the Department of Building and Safety after the first unit was installed, and he was permitted to put the second and third units on. And not until the building was 99% complete and all three units were completed on the project and assembled was the height discrepancy found. And Mr. Baez has been trying to resolve that problem ever since. We've gotten estimates to lower the building, and the cost to lower the building 3 feet run from $1.2 million to $1.75 million. It's economically unfeasible to do so, and we pray for your support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker is Mark Baez.
Hello, excuse me. Hello, I'm Mark Baez. I reside at 709 Fifth Avenue in Venice. First off, I'd like to express my sincere apologies to all of the agencies for the City of Los Angeles for any acts of oversight or carelessness on our part. It's actually my first attempt to develop a property ever. With the attempt is also to build a green building. So there's a lot of ideas that we tried that may have taken more of a precedent over others, but there was no malicious intent to break any rules or regulations. Like was mentioned, it was 99% complete, deemed by the inspector, the inspectors at LA Department of Building and Safety. We have assigned, endorsed, or support of all of my adjacent neighbors. The building is measured to the top of the solar panels, and that's one issue that we'd try to just resolve. But I'm just hoping that we can resolve this as quickly, as reasonably as possible with another solution of maybe bringing it to 32 feet or something. Thank you.
Thank you. Last speaker on this item will be Chalice McPherson.
And Madam President, with City Attorney's approval, I'd like to give her 3 minutes, just the opposite side. We just had 3 minutes for it. Can we do that?
Yes.
Good morning.
Thank you. 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. My name is Shally McPherson. I am currently the chair of the Land Use and Planning Committee for the Venice Neighborhood Council. We heard this item twice, April and May, and we really worked on it. One, we thought, it's green, isn't that wonderful? Further into it, we figured out green isn't enough. This project violates the Venice Coastal Zone Specific Plan. It violates the city. It violates the city forms. He has rented it for almost 3 years without a certificate of occupancy. Why is this man able to do what the rest of us cannot? There are 3 units on a 2-unit lot. Our Venice specific plan specifically states that in this particular area there will be only 2 units unless there is room for a third one, and that third one will be an affordable unit. Period. That's the rules. The rest of us go by these rules. Why isn't he? We put together an 11-page staff report, and don't worry, I'm not going to read it all. The salient facts are the Venice Neighborhood Council moved to urge the Area Planning Commission deny the applicant's request for yet another exception to the Venice Coastal Zone Specific Plan and confirm Building and Safety's order to lower the current structure by 3 feet 4 inches. If this proves economically unfeasible, the applicant should, 1, register the third unit as an affordable unit with the City of Los Angeles, or pay $500,000 into the affordable housing account of the Venice Affordable Housing Fund. It was unanimous. We passed it. We also had another one that at the close of each unit's escrow, a total payment of $5,000 over 3 years. We got people in Venice, real estate people that know the land value, and estimated that he can pay this after the sale of the property. We've got people that, and when he says that the community approves, well, we've all been lied to before. Sorry. I don't know how many residents in front of us at the Land Use and Planning Committee talking about what this man, the way this man has slapped the Venice community in the face. The Area Planning Commission saw fit to deny it. We ask you to deny this appeal. It is, I can't repeat this enough, it's a slap in the face to the community. Why should this man prosper in flaunting the rules that the rest of us go by? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, ma'am. All right, Mr. Rosendahl.
Thank you very much
Yes.
for this opportunity. Could you respond to this when the owner said that he would go to 32 feet and can do 32 feet, even though it's 2 feet over and it is the greenest building and all that? Does that make sense or not?
Right, Councilman. We have reviewed and tried to work with the appellant in this case over the last several months. The latest idea he has about lowering the building to 32 feet, I think it's very important to understand that does not involve any physical change to the building. The appellant, through semantics, seeks to reclassify a portion of the roof as roof equipment, but in the view of planning and the Department of Building and Safety, a roof is a roof. It cannot function both as a roof and as something on top of a roof. The other issue that was brought up in public testimony was the issue that it's the solar panels that puts this building over height. The solar panels place this building further over height, but the building itself is over height.
Building and safety, the 3 units that you said the council approved in 2003, Shellis was saying that one was supposed to have been affordable. Was that part of the discussion of the council when they gave it 3-unit status?
That was not a part of the approval that I've seen, no. For building and safety, though, the third building was built before there was a permit, much less the approval for a third unit to be on the site.
Okay, another question, just an open question. I'm just trying to get to the bottom of this. When the neighborhood council said, okay, even though he violated all the laws, he flaunted everything, he went against all the plans, give us $500,000 for affordable housing. That's against the law to do that, is that right?
Well, there was no way we could put that into any kind of a fund that we could monitor. And yes, I don't know if it was against the law, but no, it's not a condition we could impose.
Yeah, but if this guy's willing voluntarily to do $500,000 for an affordable trust fund, and the council thinks that's great, and in a way pays his dues, does that make sense or not? I mean, I just don't know.
Well, there's really no nexus, if I may use the word, between the affordable housing unit and the height exception.
I understand that.
So, again, that would not be what was up here, what the appeal is on.
Yeah.
With due respect, Councilman, the other thing that we as a planning department look at is we try to really hold the line on exceptions to protect the communities of your district. And even if it makes some sense in an individual case, the idea that an exception is for sale at any price presents a dangerous problem for future cases, because this case is being monitored and other developers we're concerned with giving the message that you can break the law and come in after the fact and buy your way out of it.
Mr. Reyes, I know you've been listening and didn't push the button to speak, but if I could ask you to comment on this, because frankly, I'm not asking colleagues to go with me or not with me. I really don't know where I'm going on this, but all I know is the building is complete. It's a green building, violated all the rules all along the way, and what do we do next?
Well, Councilman Rosendahl, this is a tough one for me. It was in committee, because you see on the one hand, you see not only the physical and capital and emotional investment of a building that's been built, and it's been stated for green building purposes to have it function with solar panels. That puts us in a whole different realm of types of buildings that we have, but it does address very real environmental issues. On the other hand, I understand what goes into a specific plan and the kind of time spent by community, staff, not only to put together language, but also to enforce it. And that in of itself has tremendous value if we're going to maintain a certain level of consistency and order in how our communities should develop. So it was very difficult for me to ignore the environmental side of this, but it's evident through the time frames and timelines that the individual should have done a better job in being informed before he invested so much time and capital and the way they have. So we did support the department and those who felt obligated that we should comply with a specific plan given the president setting issues that were at hand. And as you know, your office was also in support of that. But I understand your dilemma now, given the focus of the environmental attributes, if you will. And let me clarify this. The roof itself, let's set aside the solar panels. How much higher is this roof line?
The roof itself is 32 feet, or about 2 feet higher.
So it's 2 feet above the 30-foot limit?
Yes.
And then you have the solar panels, how much higher is that?
Well, that's increasing to 33 feet, so it's an additional foot and 4 inches.
So it really is about 3 feet over
the 30-foot high
roof line.
Yes.
And that's really what's in front of us.
Portion of it is the solar panel, portion of it is the actual roof.
Now, in terms of solar panel, how much benefit are we getting out of that in terms of savings of energy and impact the environment? Has anyone quantified that?
I don't have those figures now.
Do you have any information, if you don't mind my asking, in terms of what's the cumulative benefit of having solar panels and how much you're helping the environment? And you state you were an award-winning case here, award-winning building. Why were you recognized in the way you were, given the characteristics of your structure? Can you speak to that a little?
Yeah, thank you, Councilman Reyes. The building is sized to be completely dependent on the solar panels for energy. The hot water heater panel, which is the highest portion of the building that measures at 33.4 feet, it heats the floors, the radiant heated floors, and it heats all of the domestic hot water use of the building, as well as the PV panels, the photovoltaic panels that provide electricity for each building. So it's fully solar. Not only that, but it has a wall system that is a translucent insulated fiberglass system that allows for natural daylighting throughout the day. There's relatively no use of light at all, or need to use of light.
So for building and safety, may I ask, the features he describes, the attributes, the characteristics, is that something we can duplicate and learn from so we can decrease our dependency on energy in the future?
Well, certainly solar energy is something that will decrease our dependence on foreign oil and things like that. But in speaking about this particular building, it's really still a concept because the solar panels are not completed on the building.
Are not what?
They are not completed on the building. It's not.
Oh,
really,
it's not functioning yet.
Yeah, it's still connected to the grid.
Okay.
If I may, the actual solar panels are on the building. We had a resolution that was agreed by both planning and building and safety inspection to finish the roof with the solar panels on. We installed them, we had them completed, and we were asked by building and safety to disconnect the solar panels. That's why they're not working.
Councilor Rosendahl, I think we have to weigh between environmental impacts and future technology versus the president setting actions of someone not paying attention to the law.
Councilmember, can I make just a brief statement?
I mean, it's a good question, Colleague, I appreciate your question. The question that Mr. Alicon shouted out, what blight do you want? The 2 or 3 feet out of compliance, or do you want to have the solar energy and the certified? That is the dilemma that brought me here today, frankly. City Attorney's Office. Who's the City Attorney's Office?
The city attorney prosecuting? David Shepard.
No. Who's the City Attorney at the table? Anybody?
No, none of us.
Do we have a City Attorney in the room here who can
City
talk
Attorney's
about
Office, we've reviewed this in plum, and there are no legal issues. If you are going to be granting the appeal, appropriate findings have to be made, and it would take 10 votes to overturn the decision of the lower body.
Yeah. The question for the city attorney for me is this. Assuming we deny the appeal based on the process that was clearly outlined was violated, what recourse do we have to the concept where the neighborhood council said, fund an affordable housing project to, work with us in trying to make it work? I mean, can we do any of that after we slam them down? In a discussion, or does it have to be a lawsuit? I mean, how do we get this resolved so that the community is appreciated and respected for at least the strategy they suggested at the neighborhood council? The building is done, the people are in it, it is a green building, though they violated everything. They said give $500,000 to a trust fund, which we know is illegal. You can't do that. It's sort of an extortion kind of thing. But if we slap them down here now, then what process happens? And can we keep the building green, and can we also get the support for affordable housing? That's basically my question.
Part of those seem policy questions regarding what to do next. Before you right now is the appeal regarding the height limit, and I really don't know the answer to what can be done regarding the offer of the $500,000.
Does anybody want to make a final comment? Please, real quick.
Brief comment. Mr. Baez, when he received a correction notice to stop work, he stopped work. That's why the solar panels weren't finalized. But 1 month after the Area Planning Commission denied this project, they approved 5 additional feet over the specific plan's 30-foot height limit for a building on Rose Avenue. So exceptions are made. This violation occurred negligently and it was only discovered after the building was completed. Mr. Baez has been trying to comply. He's done everything possible. Council district asked him to go to the neighborhood council. He went to the neighborhood council. They said they weren't really concerned about the height. They wanted a low-cost unit. We said that in 2003, the project came in front of the city council, and the city council said they could approve 3 units without a low-cost unit. We offered some money upon the sale of each of the unit. It was unacceptable to the area, to the neighborhood council.
Appreciate that. You want to make some final comments? Help us through.
Well, when he was talking about the Rose Avenue case, that was a mixed-use project that was on a commercial street, and the Area Planning Commission felt that was the project itself was worthy of an extra 5 feet, and the roof itself tapered, so it wasn't all 35 feet. Again, we never looked at the affordable housing issue because that was not part of what was on the table. That was not in the request as a sort of a bargaining tool. So we've never acted on the affordable housing portion of it. It was not required in 2003, and we didn't require it now either. It was never a part of the discussion.
Councilman, to answer your question about what happens next, in the event that you granted the appeal, the height as is would be acceptable and we would be done. If you denied the appeal, the owner or a subsequent owner would have the option of filing a new application. That application could involve lowering the height of the ceiling. It currently exceeds that required by the building code on the top floor. They could apply voluntarily to make one of the units affordable as a part of other changes to the building. We can't foresee but there would have to be some ultimate resolution. If you deny the appeal, it doesn't go away, but it does force the owner to come up with either a new proposal or fixing the building within what is required of the specific
Mr. Rosenthal,
plan.
if I could interrupt for just a second. You invited Mr. Reyes to speak on your time, and it's gotten all jumbled. If I could let your colleague, Mr. Alarcon, speak, press your button again, and then you can start fresh. Would you?
Bless you. It's perfect. Thank you.
Great. All right. Thank you.
Sure.
Mr. Alarcon.
This is it's an unfortunate circumstance. The fact is, you have somebody who's interested in improving the environment, but at the same time, they're not in compliance. And so the question is really yours, Mr. Rosendahl. The city is in a position, either way we go, of getting sued, in my opinion.
Correct.
The question is, where are we more defensible? It's clear to me that we are more defensible in denying this applicant.
Right.
But it's a tweener, so it could go either way, and these are the tough decisions that council members have to make. Now, I can support whatever you advocate here, but all the discussion from Building and Safety and Planning, who I believe in this particular case went by the letter of the law, I'll go with whatever you want to advocate. I frankly think that with the unfortunate reality that this developer is doing things in a very environmentally friendly way, nevertheless, visual blight is part of the consideration here, and the height, the overage is a big concern from an environmental perspective. So you can't have it both ways. You can't do good for the environment in the walls and the lighting situation, and then screw up somebody's visual effect. So I think they ought to conform. They ought to get into compliance, continue to architecture as would benefit the environment. But I think we're in perfectly sound position to deny this application and stand with the department. But if you think that in this case, because we don't know because we haven't seen it, you probably have. We don't know how much benefit to the environment would be. If you think that that's overwhelming, and in this case, I'll stand with you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Alarcon, do you want to press your button again, Mr. Rosendahl?
Yeah, I'll just wrap it up
Okay,
at this
great.
point, unless any other colleague wants to speak. What I would like out of my colleagues is just what Mr. Alarcon said at the final remark. What we need to do is exactly what you said, is we need to deny it, respect the community, respect the city departments and all of its processes, send a lesson that since 2002, way before my time, as this process moved forward, with the hope that when this denial happens from my colleagues here, they'll sit down with the city in that mode where now everybody appreciates the honesty and integrity of what we just did here now, and then hopefully we can find a resolution that does not mean tearing down the building, that does allow the solar panels to exist, that does allow the climate change to be appreciated that the whole world is facing, but at the same time respect the process that the city has created over time. When we get a step further on this, I think we can change as we do the climate stuff and have the flexibility, but it has to be in the upfront part, not after the fact. The after the fact is where the issues with the community came in. My hope is that maybe in some kind of a collaborative effort, we can work out what you just suggested would be an amicable solution. So I'd like to close the hearing and vote as is scheduled.
Thank you very much.
Just vote
And if you go, would you like to go through what a yes vote means and a no vote?
Actually, council would be considering the Plum Committee report, which denies the appeal.
And we would write yes on that.
All right, Madam Clerk, please open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Okay.
Next item.
Item 6, call special by Councilmember Alarcon.
Mr. Alarcon.
Members, I believe we have a public comment card. Sure.
Okay, our first speaker will be Irene Tovar.
Council members, my name is Irene Tovar. I live in 14801 Wolfskill Street, Mission Hills. I stand here in official opposition to the exit and entrance of Wolfskill Street for this project. Wolfskill is a 2-block street with dead ends on both sides. The entrance to this neighborhood is through Arbuckle and Wolcott, Wolcott being a 3 parking space street, one side utilized by the nursery employees, the other one by the residents. It is logical, if we were really to be fair, that Chatsworth Street, which is a 4-lane street, be the exit and entrance to this project. The city says that it is a main street and therefore they're trying not to use it, but right now at the present time, about 150 feet, there's a project on 14702 Chatsworth which is ongoing and would be the exit and entrance to that project. If we use Wolfskill as the entrance and exit, it creates a traffic problem to a neighborhood of 25 homes with an average about 130 vehicles. I really think that the decision to approve it this way is in favor of the developer versus the interests of the neighborhood's welfare. In addition, this project will go on from Monday to Saturday from 7 a.m. until 6 p.m. We're lucky that we're going to have Sunday off. With all the noise and all the noises that come, we will be faced with new noise pollution. I think this is not in the best interest of us as neighborhood, and in effect, I think it goes contrary to the interest of the community plan. It is a sad day when a developer has a better hold on our future as a neighborhood people. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mr. Alarcon.
Members, I'm sure most of you know that Irene Tovar is a very respected member and leader in the Northeast San Fernando Valley community. And so whenever she has concerns, you want to listen. In this particular case, we've listened, and nevertheless, at the end of the day, we're not going to be able to agree. The fact is, she has brought very good improvements to the project by virtue of her concerns, and we have been able to improve the quality of this project. But at the end of the day, as I said, the project is in conformance to the community plan and might put the city in jeopardy if we did anything but approve what this developer is trying to do. The good news is that we were able to negotiate with the developer to get agreement that he will build an 8-foot high wall on the westerly side of the property, which is adjacent to Ms. Tovar's property. Also, the concern that she has about the egress to the Chatsworth Street is complicated because there's an existing home, and he would have to essentially demolish that home, or at least the garage, which means he would have to put the garage someplace else in order to comply with city laws in terms of the egress. We also she raised a concern about fire hydrants, and I do believe this project will require 2 fire hydrants, but I will work with her and the fire department to make sure that they are of the same opinion. Basically, this project is 512 feet long, I believe, and a fire hydrant is required for every 300 feet, so that should not be difficult to accomplish. Also, we were not able to negotiate with the developer on the number of bedrooms. He wants 5. We would have preferred 4. However, the community plan specifically supports the housing. Obviously, it's our policy to promote housing. This is a relatively large parcel, and the issue is not the square footage of the lots. It is a large parcel. So we're not able to comply, or we're not able to help on that score. But I do think that we've improved the quality of the project. The specific technical amendment that I would like to move, the Planning Department erred in its motion to the Council when it reversed the terms easterly and westerly. So the modification that I would like to make would be to switch the words easterly. Let me read this. Where it is talking about providing a wall. A 6-foot height slump sole decorative masonry wall or wooden fence adjacent to the easterly neighboring residences should have read an 8-foot. It should have read westerly, and where it said and an 8-foot height slumstone decorative masonry wall or wooden fence adjacent to the westerly neighborhood residences shall be constructed. That should have said easterly. So I would ask that we switch. Actually, this is the way it should read. I'm sorry, I read it in reverse. But the point is, we want the wall to be adjacent to Ms. Tovar's, the 8-foot wall to be adjacent to. I would also like to delete the words "or wooden fence." That would require the developer to provide a masonry wall or a slumpstone wall of 8-foot height to give you some protection and also be more decoratively amenable. So I think we've improved on the project. We're not able to give Ms. Tovar all the things that she would have liked to see on this project, but we believe that we are constrained by the community plan and legally required to give this developer his ultimate plan. With that, I would ask for approval of the amendments as I suggested and the denial of the appeal. Oh, wait, are we... I'm sorry, approval of the zone change. This is not an appeal.
I believe Mr. Alarcon needs a second on that motion. Mr. City Attorney, am I correct?
I believe it's friendly.
It's what?
Is it a friendly amendment?
It's a friendly amendment, of course. Where's Bill Rosendahl when you need him?
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So he has a friendly second from Mr. Rosendahl. He is everybody's friend. Thank you very much. That's right. All right. So with that, please open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
I'm going to take an item out of order. I believe it's item 70, and there is a substitute on that one.
Yeah, and that has been circulated.
Okay, let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Next item is item 57. There are a few speaker cards on that, so why don't we, they are in the San Fernando Valley. I know we are having, it's not working, so I will read their names into the record. Sharon Brewer and Donna Pierman and Miriam Fogler are in the San Fernando Valley, and there is a card for a downtown Mr. Matthew Dowd. Mr. Matthew Dowd, no one is coming forward, so let's close the public portion of that. Would you please open the roll? Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Again, let's take another item out of order. Item 62, please. And again, there's one speaker card in here from Matthew Dowd for item 62. Mr. Matthew Dowd is not in the chamber. There are no speakers in the queue. Would you please open the roll? Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Next item will be 67. We will take that out of order. And again, there is a speaker card in item 67 from Mr. Matthew Dowd for item 67. He does not appear to be in the council chamber. Please open the roll.
And Madam President, there is a substitute motion on this that has been circulated.
All right. Okay, now open the roll, please, then, on the substitute motion. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
All right, next item we will take is item number 20, please.
That was called special by Councilmember Reyes.
Mr. Reyes.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to ask that we receive updates every 30 days to see how they're moving on these issues and to have a report to Public Safety Committee in 30 days as well.
Thank you very much, Mr. Reyes. There is one speaker card on this item, and that is Mr. Arnold Sachs.
And while he's walking up, we do have representatives from our office who can answer any questions.
They're just that basic.
Good morning, council members. Thank you very much. Very quickly, regarding the item, part of this agenda item, specifically the legal representation. Again, I brought this up once before. from the Daily News on 9/26, Laura Chick, the city controller, tried to audit the city attorney's office use of private attorneys, and it states in the article his office did cooperate with a state audit which found the cost for private law firms rose from $17.5 million in 1998 to more than $81.9 million in 2004-2005. I'd like you to keep that in mind when you're doing the deciding on outside legal representation. And I'd also like to know, this was some articles from the LA Times, November 13th. When attorneys, this one specifically says Latham and Watkins has 43 clients with business before the city. When the outside agencies have cases involve the city, are they precluded from representing the city in other items? Would they be eligible to be used as legal counsel for the police department in this representing the city and any outside litigators if lawsuits come before it based on this Mayday report? Thank you. I'd just like to get an answer on that if I could.
Thank you very much. There's no
Thank you for the answer.
There's no speakers in the queue, so if you would please open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Let's take 38 out of order as our next item, please.
And again, that was called special by Councilmember Reyes.
Mr. Reyes.
Thank you. My questions were answered. We'll let go.
All right. And there's already been a public hearing on this matter. So please open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Next item will be item 53.
Called special for cards from the public.
The person who has requested to speak on this item is in the San Fernando Valley, Miriam Fogler, and we're still experiencing technical difficulties, so I will read her name into the record, Miriam Fogler, for item 53. Please open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Next item is item 54.
Called special for Councilmember Hahn.
Ms. Hahn.
Thank you, Madam President. Well, I think this is one of the best items, save for the last one today. What's before us today in this item, colleagues, is actually a piece of good news for the Harbor Gateway, which could use some good news. Many of you have heard me talk about it. It was almost a year ago that young 14-year-old Cheryl Green was shot and killed on the sidewalk outside of her home. And we've been holding regular meetings in that neighborhood since that happened, and the community has come together and talked about what they could use, what we could do a better job of doing. And one of the issues that really came from the young people was there wasn't any place for the young people to kind of hang out after school. And we know if Cheryl was even in somewhere in a building that fateful day, she would be alive today. So they talked about a community center, they talked about a teen center, and as you know, land is scarce, and we've been trying to find a place where we could actually build something so the teens could have programs after school. So we actually located a piece of property. It's a small vacant lot that was actually right in the middle of this very neighborhood. And we did a property search, and we found out that the owner was Remco, owned this property. We tracked them down. I met with the owners of this property and talked to them about how we would like to get this piece of property. They graciously, generously donated this piece of property to the City of Los Angeles. And so what we're doing today is accepting this donation of land from Remco. We're going to expedite the creation of a community center. We've worked with the City Harbor Gateway Boys and Girls Club, who've already now agreed to run some of their programs in this. We've been working with Jeff Carr in the mayor's office to see how they might also participate so that we could build something very quickly. So less than a year from that tragedy, we've actually accomplished something by getting a piece of property. We're going to build a community center there, and hopefully our young people will have a place to visit. So it's a good Christmas gift. I really, again, want to thank Remco, and I hope you will all unanimously approve this very generous donation of a piece of property that ultimately will, I think, save lives in more ways than one. So, thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Hahn. There is one card on this item for Arnold Sachs. All right, Mr. Sachs, you, just for the record, you do not want to speak. All right, thank you very much. Please open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Next item.
Council has motions for posting and referral.
Motions are posted and referred.
There's an excuse on the desk. Councilmember Zine, request to be excused to leave at 11:30 on November 21st for city business. A motion is required.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Mr. Zine moves, Mr. Park seconds. Any others?
That clears the desk.
All right, members, are there any announcements? Mr. Parks.
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to publicly thank Mr. E.J. Jackson today on his 21st annual Thanksgiving Day giveaway. Gave away about 10,000 turkeys along with a variety of food products over in the area of Slauson near Crenshaw. And to see how the community responded. On the sad side is the amount of people that then show the need within the community, that people were actually in line at 3 or 4 o'clock this morning waiting for these free foodstuffs. So I want to thank Mr. Jackson from the Jackson Limousine Service for his 21st annual event.
Thank you very much. Any other announcements? Would all of you please rise for adjourning tributes? All right, Ms. Hahn.
Thank you. I'd like us to adjourn in the memory of Henry Pacheco today, who was a lifetime Wilmington resident, and he passed away recently at the age of 64. Henry graduated from Banning High School and CSU Dominguez Hills. He was a retired football coach and teacher at San Pedro and Carson High Schools. I knew Henry because he served as a member of the Wilmington Veterans of Foreign War Color Guard. And it was one of the greatest color guards in the harbor area. They show up at all the events. They're called on regularly to preside at the funerals of vets anywhere anywhere it happens, and it's a real public service that they do on an ongoing basis. Henry had served honorably during Vietnam War era as a member of the Color Guard, and he participated in a number of events that I participated in. He's survived by his sisters, Rachel, Barbara, and Sophia, brothers Francisco, Alfredo, Alfonso, Saul, Manuel, Robert, and Richard, and dozens of nieces and nephews. Henry is much loved, and he certainly will be very, very missed by all of us. I'd also like us to adjourn in the memory of James Dusovic, who passed away on November 15th at the young age of 33 from an apparent heart attack. He was a 29-year resident of the South Bay, an animal lover, sports enthusiast, and he was one of the young members of the Croatian American Club in San Pedro, which is now being frequented by some of the young people in San Pedro to try to infuse some energy into that club. He's survived by 2 young children, Milica and Vieco, his parents Frane and Daniela, his brother Para, his sisters Kathy, Anka, and Danica, and his grandparents. I'm sure that's a great tragedy for that family. I'd also like us to adjourn in the memory of Officer Philip Castillo, who passed away on November 8th at the age of 31 after a battle with cancer. He was a proud member of our Los Angeles Airport Police for the last 7 years. He was well known for his helpful community style of policing. He knew everyone. They knew him. He is one of those that we're very proud to have at the airport, greeting our passengers while protecting them as well. He's survived by his wife Donna and 2 daughters, Maya and Ariel, and I think, Bill, you'd like to second that with me.
Mr. Rosendahl will second. Thank you, Mr. Rosendahl.
And then one more. philanthropist and aviation enthusiast Barbara Caesar, who was co-founder and president and CEO of Synchro Aviation and Synchro. Were you doing this one? Okay, I didn't see you here. I'll let you do that one. I knew Barbara, but I'll be happy to let you do that one, Tony, since it's out in your area. But she really impacted me greatly. The very first time I met her, she was a very strong woman, but I'll let you do that one. I know Bernard's also going to do Gus Hawkins, which is something I also want to sign on to. So
I think we should all sign on to Congressman Hawkins.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I'll backtrack a bit, or...
For Bill.
All right, you don't want to do that one right now?
Safeguarding the workers' money.
Okay, all right. Mr. Parks?
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to adjourn in memory of Congressman Augustus Hawkins, who passed away on November the 10th at the age of 100. He's the oldest living former congressional figure. He was born in August of 1907 in Shreveport, Louisiana, moved to Los Angeles, attended the local public schools. He's a graduate of Jefferson High School in 1926, from UCLA in 31, and USC in 1932. He also was a prominent member of the real estate community in the early 40s. He was a member of the State Assembly from 1935 to 1962, and a member of Congress from 63 to 91. He was set as a committee of House Administration, also the Committee on Education and Labor, and also a Joint Committee on Libraries. He reached his power in the U.S. Congress as the chair of the Education and Labor Committee, and he has held public office longer than any current federal or state official in California. He won election in 1962 and eventually became the senior black federal elected official in the nation. He represented the predominantly black voters of Watts, of Los Angeles, and adjoining communities since the mid-30s. He is probably most famous and as a co-author of the Humphrey Hawkins Act, which was a major law on juvenile justice and jobs. One of the things I think that is so important in having known him personally, to look at his life that he lived for 100 years, you can just imagine all the transitions and changes that he observed, everything from the issue of slavery all the way to human rights and the civil rights acts. And so I think it's something that he has been a role model for most everyone in elected office, and certainly a leader within the Los Angeles community and the nation. So I'd ask that we all support that.
Thank you
motion.
very much, Mr. Parks. That's an excellent idea, and I would just like to add my words regarding Mr. Hawkins, as he represented the area as a congressman in the area that you and I both represent, and I had the pleasure of meeting him on a number of occasions as my sister worked for him for many, many years in Washington, D.C., and he was a very humble, unassuming man with a deep intellect and an incredible amount of compassion and awareness of the plight of others who so needed uplift through his advocacy, and I think he'll stand in our history as a hallmark of progressive and thoughtful and substantive politics. To be able to have lived for 100 years is something that we don't get to experience very often, and I think we were all very fortunate to have him for as long as we did. Mr. Alarcon, Ms. Hahn?
Yes, I also like to lend to the choir of positive things to say about Mr. Hawkins. Congressman Hawkins was a role model to many, including myself. When you're in the trenches fighting for progressive causes that are far too progressive than the day might present, he was one of the people that I remembered to keep me fighting for the causes of the working people and people of poverty. He is not a Los Angeles hero, he is a national hero. He was somebody who impacted each and every person in the United States of America. And when I was studying at Cal State Northridge, he inspired me in many different ways, not to be a politician, but to be somebody who was fighting for justice. And that's what he did each and every day of his life. And so I'm honored to be able to make that public statement.
Ms. Hahn?
I obviously grew up Knowing Gus Hawkins, he was a good friend of my father's, and again, just a true champion for civil rights and a true champion for the people who, the people he represented were the ones, sometimes even today, that feel disenfranchised, feels like they don't have a voice in government, and he clearly gave a voice to the voiceless, and he gave great hope as he had championed their causes in a way that they had never been championed before. My father was able to name a health clinic in Watts next to the Martin Luther King Hospital, the Augustus Hawkins Health Clinic, and it stands there today as a tribute to his fight for all the causes that affected people's quality of life.
Thank you, Ms. Hahn. Next, Mr. Rosenthal, do you have an adjourning motion? Anyone else? Because I have one. All right. I would like to adjourn in memory of a very special woman who I met a year ago at one of the charter schools in the district, and her name was Dr. Donda West. I met Dr. West about a year or so ago at one of the charter schools because her son, Kanye West, had funded an after-school program for the 8th graders, and she was there, and if you ever listen to his songs, you know he talks a lot about his grandmother, his mother, his Aunt Beverly. He names his relatives by name, and Dr. West was there with Aunt Beverly, and they were preparing for the program that evening when he would arrive, and when I was told that he would be there to talk to these 8th graders, I almost didn't believe it. I thought, come on, this guy is a major superstar, and why would he have the time to even do something like this? Well, and speaking with her and seeing what just a lovely person she was and just so down to earth, he showed up, and of course the kids were just thrilled. But that wasn't the last time that Dr. West and her son did this. I saw her, I guess now would be almost 2 weeks ago, at Challengers Boys and Girls Club at 52nd in Vermont. And again, she and Aunt Beverly were there. And then Kanye came in, and he had funded a program for Challengers Boys and Girls also, second time. She served as the chairwoman of the Kanye West Foundation. That was an educational nonprofit that works very hard to decrease dropout rates and increase literacy. But the thing that was so special about her, and she was Dr. West, she was a PhD in English literature, and she chaired the Department of English at Chicago State University until she left in 2004 to help manage her son's career. She had done that for 31 years. She was an educator first, and a single mother. But you could see the bond between the two of them. They were the probably biggest guardians of Kanye, and were there first to do the advanced work for him, and were there standing always vigilant, watching over him. And their bond was deep, and you could tell just by watching the two of them stand with each other. And she was an absolutely charming person, and it's quite shocking that she passed the way that she did. And I had said to her, I wanted her to come to some events in the district just to, get to know people, and she said she had to take care of some business, but after the holidays, we would get together. And, it's just so sad to lose her like that, and even more sad to see him in such a state of grief. And I just wanted to say this publicly because they are such a good family and such a giving family, and I'm sure his work will continue, but it just seems that she was such a major motivator and protector and guardian of all the values that the both of them obviously hold very dear. So I just wanted to send our sympathies and our thoughts and prayers to the family as they go through this extremely difficult time. In memory of his mother, Dr. Donda West. No further adjourning tributes.